And I'm trembling with excitement. RuinusInsight here, welcoming you to part 1 of a brand new modded Total Warhammer 3 Old World campaign. SFO Grimhammer 3 Tomb Kings. Chosen by community vote, Settra the Imperishable, King of Kings, who has no equals, only subjects, will call his legions to war. But first, a little housekeeping. Mod-wise, all mod info is in the description below as usual in load order. Plug-wise, check out our Discord and join the Ruinous host. Consider joining the channel or becoming a Patreon to get access to perks like exclusive votes, or support the channel by purchasing games and DLCs through our affiliates in the description below. Big shout out to the modders, and as always, the biggest of shout outs to you guys for your comments and support. Anyway, let's take a quick look at how SFO changes the faction. So, faction-wise, Settra gives unique abilities to every single unit in his roster, which I'll show you guys in-game, but we will unlock via technologies over time, plus special events that give his factions various buffs. He gets additional allegiance points with other Tomb Kings, which we probably won't see too much use out of, to be real, but if we wanted to vassalize some, we can use their armies easier. +1 Tomb Prince and generally hero capacity is pretty nice to have, but construction time reduction for capitals is very nice. Tomb Kings build very slowly. It's one of the things essentially gating their expansion, and so this will considerably speed matters up for us. Lastly, Settra is the Chariot Lord, so chariots hit harder in melee not just for his own army, but for his entire faction, which is pretty nice. Lord-wise, I think his effects kind of run the gamut. More recruitment capacity is pretty meh. It's only really useful in the very early game, as it has to be where Settra is currently located. And the casualty replenishment is always nice to have, but it's not very exciting. Big ol' leadership aura will help undead units not melt away as quickly when suffering morale shocks, but again, not particularly interesting. Population surplus +1 for newly captured settlements, however, is going to be very, very significant. Settra, being an imperialist, will also probably appreciate the sort of help in growing his empire quickly. Lastly, Settra has a unique trait that levels up and grows stronger with him, but we'll check that out in-game, as we can't see those out here, neither with the faction effect up here. Anyway, in terms of settings, we're going with very hard, as I find that to be the sweet spot, and I'm leaving both of these checked as, well, they seem to work decently well together from past experience. I've decided to opt out of the unusual locations this time around. I did keep them all on in Lokir's campaign, but kind of similar to the Dark Elves, I figure. As Tomb Kings, we wouldn't really engage with all of these because they're all chaos pretty much, and it's just not lorefully appropriate to do so for this particular faction, so that's that. And speaking of that's that, I believe that's it for me, so all glory to the algorithm, and let's get to it.
Settra the Imperishable, King of Kings, Lord of the Shifting Sands, eternal ruler of mankind, rest no longer. Mehekara will be restored to greatness.
Alrighty, here we go. Settra's back for some chariot action, at least soon, as he looks a little bit naked without a chariot mount, and surprisingly, he actually does start as a footlord. Personally, I think I would have put him... Silence. Personally, I would have put him on a steed at least at level 1. What, you expect Settra to walk with the rest of his legions? But anyway, I digress. Briefly, for those unfamiliar with the Tomb Kings, how they play, so we now have access to the Books of Nagash, which basically give us a bunch of different bonuses, depending on the specific book that you get, but also they have a single bonus that sort of stacks a chance to restore and heal destroyed constructs after battle. Every single Book of Nagash has that available to it, called Dune Restoration. And I guess we're just going to have to wait and see how useful that is. It's basically like Demons Reforged for the forces of chaos. We've got the Canopic Jars currency, of course, which are used to research technologies, unlock specific heroes and lords, and of course craft items in the Mortuary cult. Tomb Kings are also pretty unique in that they're all of their units are free, and thus the armies have no upkeep, and their losses don't matter that much, but of course their buildings do cost quite a bit to get up and running, especially the late game ones, so we're going to have to work on that. As I've already mentioned, we can also get the dynastic technologies, which means just the unlocking of lords, so we have these little sort of pseudo-legendary special lords that are available to us via the various dynasties, and Settra himself has all of this, which is a bunch of special traits, essentially, or abilities for every single unit type in the roster, and hopefully in the late game this will mean some interesting differences for units that otherwise might not be used in the late game. Pretty excited to check it out and see how that all works, especially with the combination of the different heralds, which are powerful ancillaries as well. Anyway, I'm sure there's a little bit of admin to do, but we gotta get Settra on field and subjugating the first of his foes here. It looks like a little lizardman pile, and just a little pile of skinks, and I'm sure they will have little chance against us, even with the basics that we got, as we do have a Khemri and War Sphinx to start. But anyway, first cinematic battle, go. Alrighty, perish indeed. Weird seeing just as weird, I should say, seeing Settra on foot, but all good, he won't be on foot for too long. That's a pretty fantastic looking cape with presumably his own face, or maybe just the Nehekaran icon there, but it looks pretty darn fantastic. The enemy are arrayed before us and moving towards Settra, foolishly, I might add, thinking that they will achieve something here. The Tomb Prince here, for now, commanding the Tomb Guard, though later on to be commanding probably chariots, as Settra will be off doing his own thing on his own big chariot. We got our Khemri and War Sphinx, and of course the archers in the Howdah will fire off a few arrows, taking a few javelins, but charging forth regardless. And though we do have to be careful, as the javelins are, well, they certainly have potential to do plenty of damage. Settra moves through the line of skinks, activating the Wrath of Tra explosion ability, doing a little bit of damage to them, but mostly just trying to break through the ranks in order to reach the enemy red-crested skink chief. And he and the Tomb Prince will bring him down, hopefully reasonably quickly. Of course, Settra could handle a single Red Skink Chief himself without trouble, but it would take a little bit too long in the early game, and we got other things to do. The War Sphinx is annoying the enemy, essentially bouncing back and forth between the enemy skink skirmishers and the front line of skink cohorts, which are on the verge of collapse under the assault of the Skeleton Warriors and Tomb Guard. If you're wondering where the single unit of Saurus Spears has been this entire time, our unit of Archer Chariots has led them away from the main army, essentially peppering them with arrows the entire time and annoying them. And of course, the slow-moving, compared to the skinks at least, Saurus are now going to take some time to get back to the main fight, and having taken a decent bit of hurt from those chariots. Isn't it lovely? I gotta remember to occasionally maybe pop off a Joff's Incantation of Cursed Blades to give the bleed effect to the chariots. I think that might significantly empower them as well. Actually, might warrant to, might be a good idea then to have a couple of Lore of Nehekara priests in the same army. Spamming the bleed effect on multiple chariot units could actually significantly empower them. Alright, theory crafting begins. Anyway, the theory crafting won't matter too much for the enemy army, as the bounce power has shifted to about 95% in our favor, and only the Saurus Spears remain in the fight. Joff's Incantation of Cursed Blades comes down in the Tomb Guard, applying bleed to those Saurus, but the Saurus have already bled over the course of this battle, and with that will shatter, giving Settra the first of many victories. Not as many victories as titles, perhaps, but many nonetheless. Alrighty, there we go. Nice little first fight. The chariots did a ton of work in the early game. Tomb King chariots are kind of interesting in that they're sort of incredible in the early into mid-game, but then kind of really fall off in the late game because they're generally kind of incapable of matching the sort of elite enemy units, as once you start running into elite infantry like Blackguard of Nagaron, etc., coming off of Loki, that's the one that came to mind first, they get really put into dangerous situations because they are very, very fragile compared to regular chariots because of their high unit numbers. But anyway, I digress. They did well, 20,000 damage, etc., and 16,000 on the Tomb Guard, though admittedly they had the benefit of the incantation of Cursed Blades on them repeatedly, giving them the bleed attack. 17k on the pet War Sphinx as well, which is always nice to see. We can heal up a little bit, but money is very, very hard to come by in the early game, so I think that's what we're going to take immediately. 710 cash, and the Endless March thing should be nice as well. Not like we're getting any bonus canopic jars for this after all. Alright, like so. And out of curiosity, Settra, will you be able to reach the Temple of the Sun? Indeed you will. I don't think you can make good use of that range, though, unless, wait, does the Chariot of the Gods have little archers sitting in it? No, that doesn't. Alright, I was wondering. Who knows, maybe Settra had brought some friends with him. Anyway, I got a little bit too excited in terms of fighting our first fight to take a look at him, but I believe our Tomb Prince is a unique Tomb Prince as well. Prince Nebethar, he starts with a charioteer trait, so he'll be riding a chariot, obviously, and he has this, Captain of the Royal Chariot Guard. With Harold Neckhoff elsewhere, Captain Nebethar serves as Settra's right hand, +5/+5 when on a skeleton chariot mount, even stronger, and aha, devastating flanker for all chariot units in the hero's army. Well, Chariot Lord gets even charioter. Settra does like his chariots. You could say he's Setran his ways. I'm an idiot. Anyway, alright, what do we gotta do here? So, collect income, Khemri. I'm so amused with myself. We're gonna turn that off in SFO. Generally speaking, you want to start by turning off your income collection, even with Tomb Kings, because you want to grow the place as fast as you can, and SFO offers a +50 growth for when you're not collecting taxes, which I guess does make sense. We probably don't actually want to build a chariot building here. We could probably better build it at the Temple of the Sun here, so I think that's what we'll do. You can head here, but I do wonder whether you'll be able to auto-resolve it. Yeah, it looks like you will. Alright, so we'll auto-resolve this. Oh, this is going to hurt the chariots, isn't it? Yeah, actually. Surprisingly not as much as I thought. Lovely. And we'll just straight up occupy it. Some freaking epic jars wouldn't say no to that. And we start with the open graves here. We will immediately, I think, upgrade the mastaba here. And then we'll want to get the chariot building up and running ASAP. I'm almost tempted to build at least the first level here and then delete it later, but I think growth is going to be more critical. So we'll start with the mortuary house, which also generates a little bit of money, but we don't really care about that in the early game. And then sort of, do we actually want to delete the crypt barracks here when we can... that's a question. We do want an early Ushabti building as well to get an Ushabti on the field. Early Tomb Scorpions. We could have straight up build the Royal Menagerie though, because it goes up all the way to tier 5, so there's good reason to build it here. As in more so than the chariot building, which we might replace. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna say start with that, then. Start with a quicksand swamp, and then we'll deal with the rest later. Settra, let's see what we got in terms of recruitment available. Definitely gonna need some early game archers. Let's pop in a couple of Nehekar warriors, and I'm gonna say one more archer for now, and we'll get a couple of melee troops. Most of these guys will be shunted to other armies pretty quickly, as we will want to replace them with chariots. Now, Settra, oh my lord. Okay, so Settra, by the looks of it, is extremely point-hungry, meaning we probably won't be able to go through his entire magic lore. Hybrid lords are great, don't get me wrong, but, well, we definitely won't be able to go through the blue line, by the looks of it, which is a bit unfortunate, because there's some good stuff in the early blue line here. Casualty or punishment rate, obviously Canopic Jar Hoarder, which you want for every single character, but by the looks of it, every single character except Settra, so fair enough. Let's get Passage to the Soul Realm first, I guess, for the unit experience gain and all that. We'll grab Jeff's Incantation of Cursed Blades and Restless Dead ASAP. I'm almost tempted to get it first, but a little bit of XP will probably help in the early game. It's not like the first, like, 5 or so levels are hard to come by. And then in terms of tech, pretty easy. Wisdom of the First Dynasty is what we pick. 9 turns until we get our first army, or technically our second army, but you know what I mean. Assuming that we can't immediately build another, but I don't believe that we can. Oh, we can! Huh, I didn't know that. Well, that's lovely. That's lovely indeed. We could get a Lich High Priest with, Locus of Power, as an explosion, missile resistance for the army, and Greater Magic Bond, versus Scorched by the Desert. Fire Army, eh? Oh, I like that as well. Dang. What do we have here? Ancient Strategist, melee attack for Skeleton Horseman and a Heghar Horseman. That's great, but I'm pretty sure that Wakaf of the First Dynasty is the one that's going to be commanding the horses, because he's the desert fighter who repelled the nomads. Though, as I recall, I think he's on foot, which is kind of irritating, but what can you do? So then that means this lord is out. Here we have Indomitable. Unit mass plus 25% for the entire army. Oh, wow. Huh. That actually might be a stronger buff for chariots than melee attack and defense. Go figure. Certainly something to think about as well, but I think we'll grab a Lich High Priest first. I like this Sheltering Sands thing. Greater Magic Bond is really powerful. Well, I mean, it's not crazy or anything like that, but it's nice to have, especially if you can stack multiple copies of it. Plus, it'll be a while until we have sufficient mages to go around. And I want this guy to mage it up. Now, you guys have the 5th generation priest, which gives us a little bit of a research rate, so it's a nice thing to level you up. We are going to have to choose a lore for you. As to which lore, I will decide later, although an early lore of death might be nice. It does sort of depend on what kind of army you do. I'm just checking out your skills just to make sure, to double check whether you have anything interesting in terms of any specific unit buffs, because sometimes for some factions, some lords certainly do. Cooldown all characters faction-wide for spells, which is going to be great. If we can spam enough of this, we will be able to get a lot of sort of spamming going with things like Jaff's Incantation of Cursed Blades, because it's a really cheap spell, and combining that with Restless Dead. Tomb King healing is kind of lackluster compared to other undead healing, so there's that. Anyway, you little High Priest are going to start with a passage to the Soul Realm, and then maybe Canopic Jar Hoarder, while you follow Settra around. Alright, well, that's looking good, because we can shunt those units to that guy immediately, and otherwise I believe we're good to go. Let's double check if there's anybody that wants to be friends, but again, I'm not so sure that we're going to have any kind of... we're not going to peace out with this guy, but I'm just curious to see what he's doing. But we're not going to have probably any kind of friends-only subjects. Either they're subjugated or they're destroyed. Or confederated, I guess, in the... question of Khalida. Actually, that reminds me... No, okay, I wanted to double check whether we could grab any heroes and send one immediately all the way to Khalida. Hello. Exceptional protection for incoming lord. If hit points drop... Ooh. Oh, right, I remember now. So Tomb Kings have some interesting stuff where their heroes confer effects to their lord. And this obviously gives that exceptional protection, which is nice. Lich Priest, we got Evasion to the lord, we got Potion of Healing to the lord, which I think Settra in particular actually does need. We got Frenzy to the lord, which is pretty nice. Wise is generally good as well, because the free Canopic Jar is good for tech thieves. Yeah, alright, we're gonna build Settra out. Anyway, let's go to the next turn, shall we? Alrighty, there we go. Start of the SFO mod menu. Lately I've been taking Time of Balance, no buff, no debuff, just generally play it as it's meant to be played, and I think we're going to continue that with this particular campaign. Khemri. Let's immediately upgrade those Regnant Catacombs for additional growth, and Temple of the Sun immediately get that Bone Shaper ability. That's the Chariot building? Yes, that's the Chariot building. Crypt Barracks. Still tempted by it, but again, we can build it in the minor settlements. We got bigger fish to fry in the main settlements. You guys are going to start moving towards the Great Obelisk. Are you... I think you need to be in Entombed Beneath the Sands to recruit, right? Enables replenishment and access to the global pool. I don't remember, but I guess we'll pop into that anyway. It's not like we're too far away from the place. And then you can go here. Alright, I guess we can find out. Here's what we can do. If we pop you into recruitment, say, I don't know, Spear, you... Situation mustering, okay, so you don't change stances. Okay, interesting. Huh, wait. If we do this... Yeah, you can stay in Entombed Beneath the Sands. Okay, fair enough. Actually, that might come in handy when fighting multiple enemies like this. But anyway, let's get a couple more spears, I guess. Well, you're building a spear, aren't you? Yeah, one more archer. Alright, doesn't really matter because they'll be shunted to the other lord anyway. And then we've got a level on the Tomb Prince. Let's get you training real quick. Anything else interesting that you do? Oh, Canopic Jar Hoarder. We'll start with the first level. Yeah, we gotta start with those. Nothing else is quite as important. In fact, let's quickly take a look at the Mortuary Cult. We do have the ability to immediately unlock the Flock of Joff, which are actually fairly decent in the early game due to that bombardment from Death from Above, but the Usirian's Legion of the Netherworld are really strong, so I think we'll want those as fast as we can. Like, they're an extremely strong unit in the early game. And frankly, all the way through the late game because of their ethereal tendency. I just want to see Scorpion Armor, damage resistance plus 15. That's kind of decent. I believe Settra doesn't have a unique armor. I'm actually kind of surprised that Settra, of all heroes, doesn't have a full maxed out 4 or at least 4 or 5 magic items. I feel like he should, regardless of what his generally accepted items are. You know that this guy's got to have like 1 billion artifacts in his treasure tomb, whatever. Where do Tomb Kings keep their treasures? Anyway, end turn, let's proceed. Alright, what do we have here? From the sands of Nehekara, the Tomb Kings awaken, undying monarchs rise to claim their lost empire, leading silent legions with eternal purpose. The desert stirs and the living shall kneel. What do we have here? So Nehekaran Feast gives us a plus 20 growth for all provinces, and construction time reduction for all buildings. Minimum of 1 turn, faction-wide, as well as 250 canopic jars. The other thing is just 5,000 straight up gold, and also 250 canopic jars. Now, 20 growth is really strong, but I think if this thing is to repeat itself again, we would want to take the Nehekaran Feast, but in the very early game, this will only affect effectively 1 province, so it's not that much. Though admittedly the construction time reducing is good, we don't really have other armies to benefit from new buildings and such, so it's not that big of a deal, I would say. I'm going to say take the early game money. Bow before the kings. Alright. Now, let's see, because this could have been constructed in 2 turns instead of 3, but not that that's a bad thing, but anyway. Let's do that, and yeah, you're growing pretty okayly anyway. It's a word. Anyway, you, Great Obelisk of Khemri. Let's see what the enemy's got there. Nothing at all. The first little faction's going to get dominated very quickly, unsurprisingly. You, little fella, you're gonna leech that XP, ain't you? Ooh, and I forgot to take a look at one other thing. Again, got too excited. So Settra's trait, the Imperishable. It's a growing trait, unlike most others, a growing secondary trait. Though by the looks of it, it primarily just significantly buffs Settra himself when fighting against Warriors of Chaos and Chaos Demons, or just any Chaos faction, really. Though not Norskins, interestingly enough. Actually, surprisingly, considering Norskins have in the past stolen some Nehekaran treasures in the lore, but anyway. I'm referring to a specific incident, but anyway, I digress. That basically is going to double his weapon strength at the end of the day against Chaos forces, which is neat. Wound recovery time is completely useless because, yeah, I really don't see Settra dying to anything. Balance or battle reinforcement time minus 50%, however, could be quite nice. Anyway, let's do this real quick. I think Tomb Kings... yeah, they don't seem to really have any... Oh, we should put you into a channeling stance. They don't really seem to have any stances that matter over much to them. At least in terms of attacking. We could just attack with regular stances. Like so, and then occupy. Alright, right unlocked. Great Incantation of Ksar. Gives us Sandveil, Ambushes, and Sandstorm. None of which we particularly care about. We do want that Great Incantation of Geheb up and running as fast as possible. Growth and Canopic Jars per turn. For that we need a Nehekaran Citadel, which I believe is a tier 4 structure. Unless I'm mistaken. Yes. Alright, so here we will upgrade the Khemri Mausoleum, and oh right, so Settra, when he conquers a territory, he goes +1 for newly captured settlements population surplus. Meaning... We could wait until we're at... Wait. To upgrade Khemri to tier 4. I'm wondering whether we should allow it to go to tier 3 and only then take Mortis Road in order to immediately upgrade Khemri even further. There is an argument to be made for doing so. I'm gonna think about that. Anyway, I guess another chariot building wouldn't be amiss here, though as I recall, Tomb King garrisons are absolute garbage, which means we'll probably want the Towers of Bone. Ushabti and Spokral Stalkers ain't bad. And we're kind of surrounded by at least potential enemies. Who is this? Ogre Kingdoms. Ugh. You're in the Khemrian Desert. I don't like that. Anyway, great incantation. Oh, sorry, we can ignore you. But anyway, let's recruit stuff for now. What else do we want? I guess a couple more spears. Oh, wait, you have the spear. So transfer this to Settra. Oh, and I guess actually you won't be able to channel. Well, actually, you will if you take some of these guys. Lose the archers and all this. I just want Settra to recruit for now. You could channel as well, but I guess it doesn't really matter right now. Let's do skeleton horse archers. A giant pile of them, because it'll be a bit until we get skeleton chariots. As in skeleton archer chariots, we'll start with the regular chariots as soon as they're available next turn, but not the ranged chariots. Yeah, you know what, actually here, I'd like you to go for growth, mortuary house again. And we'll continue ignoring the open graves. Anyway, looks like that's about it, so we will skip this. We've got conquest next turn, which we can ignore as well, so end turn, unless, wait, Diplo. Anybody want to trade? Give us a little bit of money influx? No, not really. Huh. Just out of curiosity, how much money would you give us to not kill you right now? 11,000 gold. Huh. It would prevent us from immediately getting this. We could wait for 10 turns and kill them after. 10 turns is a long time, though. Like a really long time. Granted, we could go elsewhere in the meantime, but I kind of don't like that. Though, 11,000... I wish I remembered or knew what the commandments were to know whether it's worthwhile to have it immediately. Oh, and then of course we'd have to wait until... ask Wrath. I don't think we're waiting. End turn. Great Incantation of Tahoth unlocked as well. Who is this? Ooh. Whoa, you're holding the Great Pyramid of Settra? That's gonna be a no. No, we're not subjugating you. How dare you lay claim to the Great Pyramid of Settra? That's pure insanity. Now you're willing to offer 13,000? You know, maybe we come back in 10 turns after we conquer these guys. That's not so bad, you gotta admit. We'll be back. Give us all your money. Tribute to the King of Kings. Alright, we could also immediately betray him if we wanted to. I mean, Settra's kind of a jerk. He could absolutely do that. Take his money and then say, you should have given that to me in the first place just for, you know, being in my presence. And then kill them. But who knows, we might want to subjugate or confederate a faction, so we don't want to necessarily cripple our early game sort of ability. Anyway, let's move this way then. We're taking the Great Pyramid of Settra. It's absolute nonsense that they dare to hold it. You're gonna move down here. I guess Settra, you can channel now. And then you, let's pump out some chariots. We got, yeah, all the chariots we can muster, and what do we got in terms of spears? I may need more spears, like way more spears. Start with one spear, and then more spears after. Alright, what was the right that got on? Ooh, yes, oh my lord, 5k? Okay, maybe it was a good thing that we took all that money. And we gotta immediately pop this off and get it on cooldown. Because the cooldown is a long time, 25 turns. Much as I'd hate to lose the 5k. Especially because we could have built the Great Pyramid of Alcatazar the Great here. Is that the pyramid that... No, it's the Pyramid of Settra. Wait, where's the Pyramid of Alcatazar then? Should be somewhere around here, right? You're wondering why I'm so concerned, because I'm pretty sure the Pyramid of Alcatazar is the one that gives us the ability to build the super buffs for the chariots, right? Where are the chariots? Here. Wheeled Vanguard. Yeah, Pyramid of King Alcatazar. That's what we want. I wish that you could click this and would point on the map where it would be. Well, I guess it's down here somewhere. We'll get to it for now. Great Pyramid of Settra is here, but in reality, it's right there. What does this do, by the way? Expendable for Skeleton Warrior and Skeleton Spearman. Yeah, they're not expendable in the first place. Okay. And, oh, lots of capacity for Tomb Guards and the Skeleton Chariots, which is Settra's sort of signature units that he buffs. Actually, a little bit weirdly, we can see melee attack buffs and Vanguard deployment for Skeleton Chariots and Tomb Guard on the speed and charge bonus. The weird thing I find is that Settra gives apparently no buffs to the Hawk Legion of Settra. Hawk Legion of Settra because they're Nehekara warriors rather than Tomb Guard, which is a little bit silly. I think they should be coded as Tomb Guard instead so that Settra can buff Settra's legions. Yeah, no. Am I the crazy one? But anyway, yeah, so you're recruiting, everybody else is fine. We have no more recruitment capacity here. We have no more buildings to be building. And well, you know what, we could upgrade you. I was gonna say wait, but if we've got 10 turns anyway, we could probably freely upgrade you to tier 3, and then when we're ready to immediately pump Khemri out to tier 4 early. I think it'll work well. Let's immediately go for the brass works for the Skeleton Archer Chariots. And I fear that rather than growth, we may want to pop in a couple of obelisks because the public order here is going to be kind of horrific. In fact, don't bother with the... Oh, wait, we'll need to replace you. And here we'll need the gold... Oh, does gold do anything for us? Can I pick jars, golden idols, some money? Nothing particularly interesting. But we gotta build it. And why is our control low, incidentally? We could probably make it high by, you know, capturing the other territory, but I think the money was worth it. Actually, speaking of money... Casket of Souls, you're in. There we go, significant power up, and we'll need it to besiege the Great Pyramid of Settra. Very idea. Alright, fine. I'll rebuild this thing here, and then we'll replace that. Alright, end turn. Alright, Highborn of Khemri for Settra. Control +2, Great Pyramid. It looks like the enemy is recruiting a lord there. Good for the enemy, I guess. This is going to pop us into the Great Pyramid. Are we able to raid? We are not. Okay, so we'll just have to, let's say, cross here. You stay in our own territory and can continue recruiting. We'll swap those chariots into Settra's army shortly, but for now, let's get a couple more spears, something needed to hold line. And, okay, that was a lot of spears. Let's get a couple of skeleton horsemen, not necessarily for this army, but for the army of Wakaf. Now, how are we for our next army? We need 10,000 gold and 800 canopic jars. Now, the canopic jars are an easy acquisition. Confederate Khalida will be 50 grand and 2.5k. It's a lot of money. At least in the early game, it's a lot of money. But anyway. Oh, golden idols. Let's get you up and running. Okay, not yet, but soon. Shh. As soon as we can. And what do we have here? Ah, we've got a commandment type thing as well. Scholarly Purity gives us control +2 research rate. We're obviously not spending all these canopic jars on this because it's insanity, but generates 2.5k for treasure. Okay, so basically we can sell off canopic jars for money. Could potentially be eventually useful. Income from all buildings +25, all regions faction-wide. Oh, it's for 1 turn. Okay, I was like, wait a second. Huh. Still, could be a significant amount of money generation with a big empire, and this allows Garrison to perform a Garrison Sally attack with a +1000 range, all region and province. Interesting. Anyway, we can't hold on to the negative public order for too long, so we'll keep... Actually, wait, this will increase the time it takes to build buildings. You know what? Uncollect the income for a little bit. Let the buildings be builded, and then that'll be dealt with. Anyway, for now, headed to you. Are you at war with anybody? No, but you're about to be. End turn. Alright, looks good. We have no buildings to build, but this one to delete, and then more buildings to replace that one with, possibly including additional control. These guys will probably come back for us shortly, so we'll need to get an army up and running in 4 turns, I guess, to deal with them. Are you able to reinforce? Oh, okay, couldn't build that, but it's all good. You. Declare war. How dare you. Occupying the necropolis of Khemri. Absolute insanity. You proceed to the Great Pyramid of Settra. You will be trading some units in a second. Alright, Pyrrhic victory. Yeah, we'll see about that. Do we want to besiege this? We could for a turn. It probably won't make too much of a difference. You can also go into regular stances. You no longer need to channel. Settra, enjoy some charioteers. You can... I mean, I guess you can keep the skeleton horse archers, can't you? Lose the 2 skeleton warriors and lose the See, 1, 2, 3. I mean, essentially we'll replace these with skeleton chariots, so yeah, we'll lose one of these guys. I just nag our warriors and tomb guards. A little bit silly, but it's just temporary, so no big. Such a weak garrison that I'm tempted to just go. I don't think the Casket of Souls is particularly great at knocking down buildings, so I'm a little bit worried about it, but I think we should just be able to knock it down with heroes if push comes to shove. And, well, here's the push and the shove. Bring you their bones. Interesting, interesting. You sure you're not from Age of Sigmar there, etc.? But anyway, here we go. The first siege with the enemy walled up, so we're going to have to bring them walls down, though of course we do have this Casket of Souls now available to us. I did allow it to hit the gate once, I think, and 1,000 HP, so it'll take a minimum 20 shots to actually bring it down, which feels like a lot, I gotta say, both in terms of time and in terms of ammunition expenditures. So, oh, actually, that one hit for only 400 HP. Okay, that one hit for more. Well, I guess accuracy obviously leaves something to be desired. Gotta remember that the Caskets of Souls get more accurate, and the spread on their ammunition or their projectiles decreases the closer the enemy is to you. So we can move it closer to the enemy and thereby do better in terms of that. In theory. In practice, it's probably better to just speed it up, get our reinforcements on field, get a few more volleys up, but then move everyone forward and simply batter down the gate. While we do batter down the gate, I always get asked this, so I like to address it in the first few episodes. If you're wondering how I'm moving the units and whatnot, this is a replay of the battle. We like to watch the cinematic shots of the battles around here, so it's a lot of editing and all that, but it makes for a nice time in terms of watching the battlefield rather than viewing the entire battle, either in the tactical view or just clicking units like this. A lot more fun, and certainly different from playing it yourself. But anyway, how's that gate looking? We are down to 1/4 of its HP. The arrows are now coming in from both the skeleton archers, the skeleton horses, and the single unit of archer chariots, and decent bit of range fire available to us. It is rather weak range fire, I will admit. The Tomb King's early game range fire, with the exception of Khalida, of course, is pretty lackluster, but they do have the numbers available to them, so we should still be plenty good enough. All of these units are also super fragile with effectively no armor, so we gotta be careful about the enemy crossbows and whatnot. On the bright side, though, the gate has been broken through and we're getting ready to move into the enemy settlement. One wonderful thing about fighting in Hekara, in the land of the dead, and all of these deserts, is the very nice flat maps and everything being super visible everywhere. We'll see all the glorious animations and all the glorious fighting, and don't have to try to make out what the heck is going on. What the heck is going on, I should say, as we fight like we do with the Black Ark battles in Lokir's campaign. Not that I'm not having a blast with those guys as well, but that's just because I really dig the Dark Elf playstyle, the sort of, live on the edge, edgy sort of thing that they do with low melee defense, high melee attack and all that. But Tomb Kings, they're really fun. Plus, Tomb Kings have always been arguably, or unarguably, the aesthetically best looking faction in the game. You gotta love these friggin' things. Can't wait to get Hyro Titans on the field. And speaking of Hyro Titans, and Mortar Shell directly impacting the head of the Khemri and War Sphinx force, and won't do damage to it, but still, it should be a concern. Anyway, the living battering ram that is the Khemri and War Sphinx will, having moved through the gate, now batter through those enemy pikes and swords and whatnot. Settra has cornered the enemy Empire captain and has basically obliterated him while taking maybe 10% of his own HP and damage. I'd love to get the camera closer, but you can't because of the gate. Alright, come on, Settra, maybe one more hit or two more hits? Nearly there either way. What was I saying? Oh, right, I was starting to talk about the Hyro Titans. I really don't want to wait too long to get Hyro Titans and lots of other elite units on field. So I think I'm going to do something a teensy bit different in this particular campaign as opposed to my other campaigns, and that's maybe play a little bit taller than I normally might. Maybe grab like 3 provinces and kind of similar to what I did to the Noctilus campaign, spend a few turns just doing the admin, letting the techs run, letting our money flow in, and allowing our buildings to come up so that we have lots more of those different interesting units available to our armies, especially with the, lack of upkeep that we have in the Tomb Kings. And the fact that they're essentially designed to play tall, I think it'll work out quite well. And it'll allow us to see all those epic late game units a little bit earlier. At least in the episode count, if not in the turn count. Ooh, big ol' explosion from Settra using the Wrath of Tra, sending plenty of those units flying, as he needed to clear the way of the chaff as he closes the distance, and with the Elector commanding the enemy settlement here. And the warrior priest is a warrior priest. Well, that's a warrior priest, but our lich priest also bonking the enemy. Oh my lord, the war sphinx looking absolutely fantastic as it bounds through the enemy ranks and sends the Elector flying as well. The mortar shells continue to rain down on our unit skeleton spears, definitely taking much damage, and frankly, all of our units getting in each other's way as they try to make their way through the gate. But the arrows keep falling on the enemy below, and the magical projectiles, these souls released from their caskets, continue coming down, and soon the enemy will be no more. I think maybe we'll do this episode just to shift gears back to what I was talking about. Maybe this episode we'll do mostly fighting with our basic armies, and then maybe next episode we will try to get more elite units on the field. Something along those lines. For those who have watched my previous Tomb Kings campaigns, I think we all know that I can and will, if left to my own devices, just spam basic trash tier units and win most of the campaign using mostly those. It's certainly perfectly plausible with the Tomb Kings in the same way that you might spam Skaven slaves with the Skaven. And we've got the skeleton warriors and all that stuff. But anyway, I digress. But not during this battle anymore, as the enemy will break and the battle will be ours just before we reach the first level of regen of the Realm of Souls. All good though, decisive victory for us, and like we said, many more to come. Alright, there we are. Easy little fight, and casualties primarily limited to the second reinforcing sort of garbage skeleton spears and just generally skeleton troops. A little bit of damage to our Khemri and War Sphinx, so that's probably going to be the case for every single battle that we come into, well, every single battle that we fight. Until we get our first Necrotect, which hopefully will be soon. Anyway, decisive victory, and we'll occupy it because we need them canopic jars. And there we go. Alright, and we can immediately, I guess, collect the income here. Build this, and... do you want to keep the Charnel Plaza until we go to the other territories? Out of curiosity, they're not even willing to peace out. Alright, well that's going to change. And you guys start at tier 3. Well, there's no way of taking this until we get some better units, mostly because we don't really have a way to deal with Ushabti and Spokral Stalkers yet. Once we do, it should be no problem. Hey, Kipper Guard, that'll help. Let's see. Probably get these immediately up and running. There we go, Skeletal Steed with Settra. I just want to point out that Lich High Priests start at level 1 with a Skeletal Steed, and Settra does not. What is this? We all know he wouldn't let that stand. Anyway, let's get the Kepler Guard in here. You can swap out... Okay, well, not a chariot. That would be disturbing. Well, I guess I can lose one of the Hekar Warriors, because they're going to be replaced by a combination of Tomb Guard and Settra's Hawk Guard, which, soon. In fact, real soon. I don't remember what the capacity looks like for these guys. I also do know that we will want to maybe send you back here to recruit them for us. So, Settra, you can probably go and do things on your own. You have a limited melee amount, but it should be fine. Now, Settra, you get your... Oh, not at rank 12, at rank 10. Meaning we're actually probably better off... I guess better off saving points for this. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Ooh, 2 more free Tomb Princes. That's nice. All the early game Tomb Guard and Chariots. Well, it's actually not all of them. I was about to say all of it we want, but it's only +2. Well, if it's +2 of each, that's actually fairly considerable. Oh, Tomb Bark. We get a port at Khemri, meaning we can maybe get an immediate Tomb Bark or 2? That would be nice as well. Alrighty. Yeah, I think taking that money was the right course of action, because it'll enable us to build up Khemri and then get some interesting stuff. A Diplo check. I mostly want a trade agreement, but alas, not the case as yet. Do we start collecting income from you? Oh, right, not yet. Not until the public order. Alright, fair enough. End the turn. Wait, Panet, do we... I was about to say, do we choose a lore for you? You're fine for now. Settra. We could go for at least the Restless Dead, because you are casting. But then, just do it, just do it. Let's just get the Restless Dead. It's the main things that Settra really wants are Jeff's Incantation of Cursed Blades and Neru's the Incantation of Protection. Basically just spam these over and over and over again. I don't really care for Syrian's Incantation of Vengeance or Tra's Incantation of Righteous Smiting, as they're a little bit too expensive. Not bad, just expensive, and we need to keep spamming to get the Restless Dead constantly upkept. If that makes sense. I just want to also double check if there's anything new and interesting here. Ancient Wisdom, spell resistance for... spell resistance for constructs? Why would we care about spell resistance for constructs? This would be much better if it was spell resistance for infantry, but anyway. Alright, so Khemri's up to tier 3. Let's get on the way to those Tomb Barks by building the Grave Port. We are going to get the gold mine as well, and... 4 turns, eh? So if we get this up to tier 3 and then take Mortis Road, it'll immediately pop it up to tier 4 immediately, giving us the ability to build the Khemri Tomb City. Yeah, we need the public order here. I'd love to build more elite structures, give us our first Tomb Scorpion and all that, but... Oh... We can also start going through the Ancient Pyramidion building, or the Ancient Pyramid building, which we need absolutely everywhere, but I guess for now we'll hold off. You can build the Treasure Tomb, which could also potentially be quite useful. Royal Burial Chamber. Where's the Nehekaran Citadel? It's this one, right? Yeah. Alright, we'll get you. We'll get you soon, hopefully. Oh, and we can build the Great Pyramid of Settra as well, which also gives us a nice... pile of capacities, quite a lot of them, as well as Canopic Jar generation. And capacity for all heroes. Alright, we need the money then. Alright, fine, screw it. Let's go for the... Where's the public order thing? You. Obelisk. And we'll build you, and then we'll build another obelisk, I guess. Well, okay, we're not removing the mortuary house. Almost tempted to upgrade both of these instead to get more public order. Maybe I shouldn't have built the crypt barracks here. Well, all good. At least for now. Great Pyramid of Kateb, Tomb of Queen Resut. Where is the enemy army is the question. I guess Resut is closer, so that's where we'll head. See if we got anything here, and... gotcha. Alrighty, Settra. And what's the difference between Entomb Beneath the Sands and Ambush? Ambush defense chance 50% for Entomb, whereas Ambush regular gives us... well, Ambush... hidden until discovered or battle initiated. Chance of intercepting an army. Wait, it doesn't say what the ambush chance... Oh, right, it says it here. That's just fine. Alright, maybe we can bait this guy into attacking. He's got, by the looks of it, a fairly decent army. Let's do this. You're gonna go here. I assume that you can reach us. I want to stay in our territory mostly so that we can heal up. You can... I guess build some stuff? Anything interesting here? Build more spears. Actually... combine this, and this. And then build another spear. There you go. Alrighty, good enough. The rest of this is... Ooh, first Sepulchral Stalkers. I do love my Sepulchral Stalkers. But do we want to waste the 2,000 gold when we're so close to the Great Pyramid? I'm not so sure. Let's give it a little bit of time. And now, I just want to see something.
My hand hovers
Not even close. Alright, fair enough. I wonder if we could maybe capture a settlement and trade it to another faction for a lot of cash. Like, briefly declare war on these orcs, capture Nikosi Temple, and trade it back to them. Certainly a possibility. Canal of Abundance does nothing for us. And I don't see pyramids here. There should definitely be one in Qatar. There should be one in... where here? Numos. There should be one in Numos, unless I'm mistaken. So we definitely need to move up here as well. Alright, well, we'll figure it out. Anyway, for now, let's end the turn and see if Settra can manage to pop off an ambush. And if he can't, we'll go here either way. Alright, it looks like we were discovered, but looks like we still have the opportunity to intercept and engage. Without reinforcements, perhaps, so no leeching XP from the other army, but it is what it is. Settra will wait for no minion. Go.
Forward, my legions! Settra dominates all!
Well, Settra doesn't dominate all as yet, but I'm sure he will as he is working on it. Anyway, here we go. A pretty interesting setup in this particular map. We've got this big old hill in the middle, which is not going to work so well for the enemy army. They have that cannon, which I was particularly worried about, as it could have killed our Casket of Souls relatively quickly, but fortunately the hill will protect it, while the two indirect fire artillery pieces essentially exchange fire. The cannon will instead fire upon some of our skeleton horse archers who have destroyed the first of the enemy units of Pistoliers, though perhaps in retrospect I should have deployed more of them to destroy the Outriders on the other side of the map. Mounted yeomen give charge to us, and these are the Bretonnian units from the Elector Count state troops. I don't know why all of the sort of minor Imperial factions seem to have access to them. And I guess the Cult of Sigmar does as well, but they do, but not a big deal. Kepler Guard making their debut here, twin-bladed units of Tomb Guard. Pretty good at killing things, and a lower in troop count unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, 60 instead of, what's the standard on Tomb Guard? 120? 100. Yeah, so those units should, despite the fact that they're probably less defensive than the regular Tomb Guard, because of their smaller numbers, they will have more HP. Settra no longer walking amongst his warriors, now on a steed at the very least, goes after the enemy, the enemy huntsman general, who is attempting to book his way on out of there, while our chariots have closed the distance at last and are going through the enemy archers. Quite literally in this particular case, going through the unit. But generally speaking, just making sure that they cannot fire. Otherwise, we have taken a little bit of damage from some of the enemy Outriders who have hurt this unit of Skeleton Archer Chariots. But as for those of you watching the Dark Elves campaign, Lokir's campaign, as we demonstrated the tactic there, we can send these guys into melee against things like Pistoliers and Outriders, because those guys aren't particularly good in melee. And with the Outriders in particular, it's best to just tie them up rather than let them fire at you. Anyway, Khemri and War Sphinx bounding down the hill and into the most critical unit that remains on field, the enemy Greatswords, though of course they won't remain on field much longer. The enemy army will shatter and the battle will be ours. I thought all the golden armor that these guys had here would look pretty garish, but honestly they've got this sort of yellow, gold, and red color scheme going. It's all pretty cohesive, I gotta say, so props to the archaeological expedition, though alas, I don't think we'll be seeing too much more of them for too long. Alright, there we go. A nice little fight. Unsurprisingly, we took some damage, and a couple of the Nehekar warriors nearly melted away, but, well, they're pretty darn fragile, A, and B, as the Tomb Kings, we don't really care, and so that's just fine. And this one, though nearly dying, managed to dish out 22k damage as well, which is pretty darn solid. And you gotta admit, beating the Khemri and War Sphinx, and by the looks of it, even beating the Chariots, which is pretty impressive. A decent little bit of work out of the Skeleton Horse Archers as well, and they do have the advantage of being able to quickly reposition themselves as compared to the sort of regular archer blobs, so they've got that going for them. Anyway, Settra, Endless March gives us a 2k bonus. Alright, looks good to me. Prince has his skeletal steed, but is awaiting a chariot. Settra, you have one damaged skeleton or horse archer, which we may actually want to swap out here in a second. I was going to send Panet back, but in 2 turns we've got another army coming up, so maybe it's not really necessary, is it? Also wondering whether we should upgrade one of these anyway, but for now, I think it's more critical to get the control up and running and start collecting the income. We clearly need it. Growth building, I guess we can upgrade you guys as well. We'll be deleting them eventually anyway. Oh, actually the tier... Oh, right. I forgot about that. Yeah, so the tier upgrades do give us additional money. They pay for themselves in, what? A little over 10 turns, eh? But they don't actually increase the growth, meaning that they're not crazy worth it. Although if you are collecting income, there is that argument to be made, I suppose. I'm just taking a look at if anything else needs to be constructed. If we want to get access to all the Tomb Guard types early, we will need the Script Barracks upgraded, though. Although, admittedly, we will leave little room for what we need to build here, but it is what it is. Anyway, Settra and whatever your name is, Guy, Panet, go here. And Settra obviously ought to resolve what remains of this garbage. And we'll head to the Tomb of King Rosset. Alrighty, and Brass Cleaver, a very nice pickup. Ooh, 14% healing. I think we'll take it because we want to auto-resolve the next fight, although... It's a turn worth of money, and the early game's so worth it. You know what, we'll fight damaged, I don't mind. And Brass Cleaver, you hold on to that Settra, though frankly we'll probably give it to one of the Tomb Princes in your army. Actually, I want to take a quick look at the Tomb Princes in a second as well. Pyrrhic Victory, oh wow, we'll have to fight this? Is this a small settlement? No, it's a field battle. Huh, go figure. I want to see if the Tomb Princes have any buffs for the accompanying Lord. Armor, when under siege for the hero. Yeah, they get all these when under siege buffs, when defending buffs. This is all garbage, it's completely useless. The armor piercing weapon damage when defending isn't bad. That one's can max out that Canopic Jar Hoarder. And yeah, we have the air command dominance, which is nice, but doesn't do anything for the lords. I was wondering whether they have any traits similar to masters for the Dark Elves, which buff the lords that they accompany, but it looks like not the case. You'd think the princes would be a little bit more inclined to help the kings, but apparently not so much. You, start going through Root Marchers, go to Canopic Jar Hoarder as well, and then keep leeching XP. Now, do we need to fight this? It'll kill off 2 Nehekar warriors and probably severely damage us. I mean, there's still a decent amount of troops here, and I don't imagine we'll have to fight the rest of this faction, because they'll probably be broken after this. And they have weaker garrisons in the other locations as well. So yeah, we can fight this and then not fight the others. Ooh, and this puts us in range of the Black Tower of Arcan, who might immediately declare war on us. Huh. Although, potentially declaring war and wiping him out early might not be the worst idea in the world either. Although that puts us further and further away from knocking out Zlatlan and occupying fully the province of the City of Kings. Though, wait. So... I take it this is for only Settra? I don't remember. It's not for the entire faction, is it? This is the faction. Meaning we need to capture this with Settra in order to get the bonus growth here. Although the growth isn't so bad anymore. I'm gonna consider that. Considerably. Anyway, I think we will fight this. Settra, you're going to hold on to your points, but the Tomb Prince is not. He has Canopic Jar Hoarder. Let's go with I mean, we should probably head towards air command dominance quickly. Though when you're on your chariot, you'll actually have a fairly decent amount of melee defense anyway, so you're not going to be super worried. Maybe we'll actually move through training first. Alright, and then you're fine as you are. Do you need to channel? You do not. Alright, looks like we're good. Good to go. Go we shall. Alrighty, here we go. What's the over-under on acquiring the Chariot of the Gods in this particular episode? I guess we'll just have to see. Anyway, Settra's still looking pretty darn good on his regular old skeleton steed, or skeletal steed, I believe. But he's going to have to wait back and, well, allow the rest of his army to be something of an annoyance. We have deployed the skeleton horse archers forward, and they have gotten their first few shots on the enemy halberdiers. Of course, halberdiers, especially in the early game, relatively low-armored, mid-armored, whatever you want to call them, and without shielding, are going to be susceptible to range fire from our harassing light cav. We got 3 units of chariots waiting on the hill, ready to, you know, sort of trundle down there and smash into the enemy army as needed, but otherwise are using our range units to harass. The enemy army is milling around, completely surrounded, well, soon to be completely surrounded, by our fast movers. And of course, with our long-range caskets of souls dropping the occasional screaming soul into the midst of the enemy's ranged ranks, we are going to be using our units to try to focus down the more threatening enemy range before switching to the halberdiers and other melee units. Ooh, very nice shot from the Caskets of Souls, taking maybe 20% HP from the Grey Mountain Band and handguns, all at once. While our cav continues to wheel around and land their shots, our chariots, our ranged chariots, quickly close the distance and smash into the mortars, and with the idea of taking them off of the artillery piece. And it looks like the crew will run away while these swordsmen attempt to shield them. First of the enemy units has broken as the crossbows run out of bodies to throw at our arrows. And we'll be switching to the second shortly and maybe running that unit down. Again, we do still have to be very careful with the skeleton horse archers and admittedly our chariots as well. They're all extremely fragile. For example, comparatively... Oh, wow. I don't think that's the... Wait, what's the max HP on these guys? 10,000? I think, what is it, 12,000 HP on Cold One chariots, maybe something along those lines? It's certainly more than this. And remember, Cold One chariots have 4 units instead of 12, so it's a huge, huge difference in individual unit HP, so you gotta be real careful with these things. But it's all good. A very nice charge from the other chariot, sending every single unit in that pile of handguns flying, and then we simply charge through and move to the next. There is one sort of unfortunate aspect to the chariots. The fact that their numbers, well, actually one of several unfortunate aspects, the numbers do give you the benefit of having lots of units charge into the enemy at once, and thus allowing you to deal a lot of damage, especially to early game infantry. The low HP makes them fragile, but also the fact that they have a lot of numbers means that they have a tendency to get in each other's way quite a lot. So you gotta really babysit the Tomb King chariots and sometimes or oftentimes ideally not move more than one of them together. Don't group them up, sort of micro as many of them as you can individually. Fortunately, with most of the enemy range units destroyed, we no longer really have to micro the skeleton horse archers and can deal with just moving around the chariots instead. Which is going to be the more important for dishing out damage to the melee troops. We can simply leave the horse archers to skirmish. We have a little bit of work from melee skeleton horsemen as well. And again, I really like the Khemri color scheme, the red and teal that they've got. It's quite nice. Alright, a line of skeletons, disciplined in their approach, crash into an enemy unit of swordsmen, here mostly to hold the line, as assume the chariots, and will be among the remnants of the enemy infantry. Otherwise, the bounce back has shifted to about 90% in our favor. Obviously, these giant piles of skeleton warriors are from our reinforcing army, which we didn't really need here at all, but it's all good. May as well use them. At least this way we might activate the first level of the Realm of Souls, but it also might not happen, we shall see. Alrighty, and it looks like the battle is just about ours, just a sliver of balance of power remaining. The Lord is still in the fight, and has actually done decent damage to Settra. Although Settra was surrounded by a unit of halberdiers for a while, so it was maybe their anti-large, and that was doing a decent bit of the work. Ouch. Halberd to the face. I don't know how you didn't die there, but you are shattered, so you may as well have, as you will all get run down and destroyed. There we go. Pretty different sort of fight than we've had previous. So we had that nice little sort of encirclement that we did of the enemy army, artillery barrage combined with getting hit by arrows from every side, and then the enemy finally got annoyed and crashed into the bulwark of skeleton spears, where they were forced to, well, be destroyed. It was a lovely time. Settra, let's see how much of this gives us in terms of XP. Gotta get to that level 10. Alright, very nice, very nice. If the archaeological expedition came here with the goal of being entombed beneath the sands, I think they'll find us more than obliging. We'll occupy the place again with, 736 now. I don't really want to deal with the additional instability, though. At least not here. There are other places. Scroll of Blast for Panet. Yeah, sure, I will make use of the targeting range for spells, if nothing else. And Scourge of Mankind already. That was quick. Let us, I guess, delete the open graves here. We'll keep the Charnel Plaza until we no longer need it, but can freely build up the Mastaba here as well. Try to build the places up real quick. Settra, you're waiting to rank 10 and still waiting then. And then you, fella, cannot entomb beneath the sands, which gives us additional replenishment rate, which is what I wanted, but oh well. We don't have any corruption here, do we? We do not. I guess we're fine for now. Alright, that looks good to me. No need to spend any money then. We have 2 more turns until another army capacity is available, and then we'll need additional cash. Now, I did want to take a quick look at the nearest Book of Nagash, which is this one. So it's the 7th Book of Nagash, which gives us additional little bit of research rate. 25 jars per turn. Good in the early game, terrible in the late game. Construction time reduction is going to be nice, though. Let me just see here. Healing modifier here. 6th book, quite far at the edge of Kalida's territory by the look of it, though hopefully it'll be easy to acquire. Effectiveness of all commandments at Lamia, which, again, if we can federate, will be quick, though I believe Lamia is currently under the... under Volkmar's faction, the Cult of Sigmar. Army capacity +1 for what? Kevin Bachman, Shrouded Undead Wanderers. Alright, we'll deal with them. You want us to capture Morgheim? I guess we could trade it after capturing it. No colonization cost, income from trade tariffs, income in... actually, this one's kind of mad. Not a big deal. And I'm also kind of mad about the Sandstorm attrition one. Lots of canopic jars. Character experience gain plus 20% is actually quite strong, so that should be pretty nice. Improves the rarity of items gained from battle. Can potentially be pretty darn nice as well, especially remembering back to Thorgrim's campaign, for those that watched it. Anyway, Panet, you can go here. I don't know whether we'll be able to reach Twisted Spine, or is it Spire? It's Spire. I should have assumed it was Spire, but anyway. Otherwise, it looks like we're good to go to next turn. Alright, what do we have here? Banner of the Hidden Dread. Hello! If it isn't Mistress Snazdrog. I was not expecting you here, but I'm more than willing to fight you. It does take us a little bit out of the way, but is that such a bad thing when we got fighting? Banner of the Hidden Dead again. Stock and Vanguard deployment. I wonder if this can go on Lords. Can we put this on Settra? I wouldn't, because I'd want to have him with a Banner of Swiftness, but... you know, it's the principle, or the idea. Might still be interesting. Otherwise, we got 1 turn until new army. And this, I think, we can wait for. Do we need to upgrade any of these guys? We could upgrade you for the additional 20 growth per turn. It's only 495. It's not that bad. And then Settra's Pyramid here. Alright, so we'll need the public order immediately, and we'll want to start collecting income. And here we'll start with the public order rather than the growth. Yeah, I know, but I'd rather... Well, actually, it's even now. Maybe we'll start with the growth here. And then pop in the gem mine, which does what for us, out of curiosity? Character experience gain, character affection wide. I mean, it's fine, 1%. Cannot pick jars per turn, though. Wouldn't say no to that. Alrighty, rights. We still have the Great Incantation of Kassar, which we don't require at the moment. Mortuary Cult. We do have the ability to unlock Osirian's Legion. Spend 250 for it. It's not like we have the 10k already for the new dynasty as yet, and the Osirian's Legion is a nice buff, though I was going to put it into the new army with the Hawk Legion of Settra as well. I wonder where we can get the nearest iron. There's one in Arcan's territory, go figure. Game, pushing us towards that. And then Venom Knights of Asaf, we've got... Well, I guess we gotta head up here anyway, because we have a Book of Nagash up here. I guess we gotta head everywhere. I mean, Settra not having all of Nehekara is just disturbing. The very idea disturbs me greatly. Anyway, you're in March stance. Maybe we send Settra to you, and then send this guy just to grab the Twisted Spire. I wonder if he can take it himself. That'd be a neat idea. I also don't imagine these guys... Well, I guess we're about to find out. Oh, I was gonna ask to declare war on them, but that's not gonna work out. Alright, fine. Declare war. They're right there. They're trespassing in our territory. Settra would not allow for it. These guys are rebuilding. Do I see an Arcan army nearby? I do not. It would be unfortunate to lose this lord now. And this is not worth fighting on a resolve. And occupy. Settra's got bigger fish to fry, and we've got another one of these charnel plazas. Alright, we'll keep it for now, but we will upgrade another mastaba. You will now combine all this nonsense and rebuild the same said nonsense. Okay, you guys can all be also just deleted. Goodbye. And then more spears. Global recruitment is 2 turns. Flock of Joff would actually really help out in terms of making this army more strong. We have at 100 jars, I think Flock of Joff should be an easy pick here. Like so, and you can replace... Oh, maybe I should have given Settra back the Nehekara Warrior, or at least combine them into one. I have to delete something, or not build... Fine, I'll just not build you. It disturbs me greatly, but anyway. Luck of Job for you, at least for now. We're probably taking it out of your army eventually. You, Canopic Jar Hoarder. Get to Horden, if you please. And then Settra, you get ready to fight. Get ready to fight, training. Okay, go for this. You have basically no melee line, but we've seen what we can do regardless of that. By annoying... Oh! Oh! They want a chariot battle. Well-ity. Well, we gotta give credit where it's due, even to the greenskins, for bringing us this lovely little contest. Though, funnily enough, pump wagons are ridiculously overpowered, especially for their cost. I wonder whether they could just obliterate our chariots, because they're actually not so bad. I've definitely used, at the very least, spiky rollers before to surround an enemy lord and just kill it, and even surround and kill cavalry and stuff like that. I don't think Tomb King chariots are capable of the same type of thing, but I'm still interested to find out. Go, go, go.
Forward, my legions! Settra dominates all!
Alrighty, here we go. Settra about to dominate all, but what I'm real interested in and what I'm real excited about is how and whether our units of chariots can dominate those units of pump wagons. The enemy has plenty of them, and we have plenty of chariots to go around as well. Sort of a dune race here. Let's see who wins. Anyway, we're gonna start the battle by annoying the enemy with the skeleton horse archers. Not really here to annoy the pump wagons so much as go after those enemy units of whatchamacallums, goblin wolf raiders, or wolf rider archers, confusing with the hobgoblin units. Yeah, it's Goblin Wolf Rider Archers for the Greenskins. Anyway, these guys are hopefully going to be mowed down by the Skeleton Archers, which will allow our chariots to duel, such as it is, with the enemy units of pump wagons. Alright, looking good. We have all of our chariots engaging the pump wagons, and I don't know whether this is the effective way to do it, but at least the enemy isn't charging our extremely limited piles of infantry here. And yes, this is sort of just, I mean, early game, we're just using whatever units we can sort of scavenge and raise and recruit and whatnot. Of course, that'll change as we sort of purpose build Settra's army later on, but, well, eventually we'll get there. Anyway, time to march on forth. The Tomb Guard will crash into the line of boys and biggins, and by the looks of at least one of the pump wagons unit got away and sends many a Tomb Guard unit flying. Good for them. Unfortunately, the enemy is blobbed up nicely and has gotten relatively close to our Casket of Souls, which means lots of AoE damage, both from the Casket and from Settra himself with that Wrath of Tra. He's moved through the enemy and activated the Wrath in order to get towards the enemy big boss. Or war boss, I should say, as they begin their duel. In the meantime, by the looks of it, the chariots have, in every single location, defeated the pump wagons. The chariots have taken maybe 30% of their HP and damage, and the pump wagons are not able to do much. I guess because of the lack of, or actually the increased mass on the chariots compared to the infantry, the pump wagons aren't really able to take as much advantage of that sort of, you know, pushing forward animation that they do when they attack. Although again, these aren't the armor sundering and higher damage dealing spiky rollers, so I don't expect them to work nearly as well. But I'm still glad that this worked out. Every single unit of their pump wagons defeated by chariots. Can't let greenskins be the superior erasers in the dunes, am I right? There we go. Alright, and with that, having seen those fancy pump wagons of theirs collapse, it looks like the Greenskin army will shatter and the battle will be ours. Absolutely beautiful, and I'm so thankful for this faction, having built a full stack and sent it on over here, perhaps to opportunistically take territory from the archaeological expedition whom they were at war with, only for them to meet us while in march stance. How dare they cross into Settra's territory? This is the fate of all who do. Alrighty, there we go. That battle, it just made me so happy. I have no words. I mean, come on, the chariot wars in the dunes. What more could you want? And before anybody says, well, technically pump wagons aren't chariots, they're war machines. Shut up, let me have this. But anyway, it looks like the skeleton chariots are in fact actually able to go head to head with the pump wagons. I'd be curious to see how they'd fare against the spiky rollers, but alas, the enemy didn't have those here. For obvious reasons, we are taking the money and not healing up here. Ooh, solid damage out of the Casket of Souls, but Caskets of Souls are pretty darn ridiculous, especially if you keep them relatively close. Now, ooh, King Nakesh's Scorpion Legion, poison or lethal poison applying unit, as I recall. Not just regular poison, but still solid to hold the ground should we need it. Now, you guys are immediately willing to peace out. I wonder if we should, though. We don't technically need to move in there. Ah, we do have a... we can build something at the Black Tower of Arcan. Probably the Black Tower of Arcan. What do we have here? All regions and province income from buildings control faction-wide. It is a tier 4 settlement, admittedly, or requires a tier 4, but it's not so bad. Really? This thing provides a massive garrison, Ushabti, Necrosphinx, Tomb Guard, etc., whereas Settra's pyramid provides one War Sphinx. What is this? How dare you? Okay, that's iffy, let's say, but whatever. I wonder if we can subjugate these fellas. I'm not sure that we actually want to vassalize the other Tomb King factions rather than take their territory. There isn't really a benefit, and yes, vassal factions provide you money, which is great, but I think we want to set up vassals far away from us. Essentially, what we'll want to do is wait until we're in turn like 30 or 40, at which point we'll send a few of our spare armies as fleets out here somewhere, maybe to subjugate the Empire. Mahrak, or whatever the Legion of Settra is already up here as well, so we can join the war and maybe keep the Empire from falling, all the while paying tribute to us. I think that might be the way to do it, whereas everything here needs to be ours, essentially. So, yeah. Doesn't seem like we can confederate these guys, though, which is a little bit weird, but anyway. Zlatlan is nearly willing, Thunderhoof. Ogre units. Kind of an interesting concept. We shall see. And we shall certainly see. Anyway, what were we doing here now? Depending on if we want to take these guys out, I was going to go southward and go after Arcan, but if we take this one settlement, for example, if we can do it next turn especially, you're able to march stance as well. Don't trespass in the Wood Elf terrain, maybe. Although Settra wouldn't care about trespassing. I think it'll take 2 turns to reach the place, but I do imagine that this plus peace would give us a lot of money. On the other hand, we could peace out with them and go for Arcan and then return. Getting further and further away from the City of Kings, admittedly. Might not be the worst idea in the world, though. Save the time. Gotta go down here anyway. Oh, it's gonna take us some time to decorruptify this place. So yeah, fine, let's knock out Arcan. Especially since the Tomb Kings in the current version of the game are kind of messed up. Well, actually, they weren't last time I played. In Lokir's campaign, the Tomb Kings were very strong, so I was about to say, maybe we should just knock out Arcan because of it. But anyway, these guys gave us money. We'll back this way with the tribute to the king, and then move towards Arcan instead. These will be deleted after we're done with this territory. I really want that Canal of Abundance. It just bothers me to have this one gigantic territory here, but anyway. Skip, I believe we're ready to... Wait, that didn't level us up to 10 now? Yeah, but Arcan should, so we're getting there. End turn. Alright, beautiful. Wisdom of the First Dynasty completed. Control +1, construction time for defense buildings. Okay, we don't care about that, but arming capacity +1, we really, really do. Lizard and Conflict, we'll get back into it very soon. For now, though, let's see what we're looking at here. We could immediately pop the Proclamation of the First Dynasty, which is a -5% construction cost for all buildings, and honestly, this is some pretty solid stuff for 2.5k. I think we gotta go for it. And there is the... well, there's a lot of stuff here that's nice as well, but let's start with the Proclamation of the First Dynasty. Patronage of the First Dynasty also gives us warriors, archer chariots, skeleton chariots, some nice capacities, but only 2 for 2.5k might not be as nice as some of the other stuff. What do we have in terms of lords now? Still have that one with the increased mass, and then Resurgent Memories. Ooh, hello. That's nice. 20% speed for all Nehekara warriors. I like that. I do wonder whether you can get to that on regular Tomb Kings as opposed to Lich Priests. I also do wonder... oh, right, the Tomb Kings can choose, like... they can choose this stuff, right? They could choose a devotion to one of these guys. I only wish that I knew... okay, you know what? Here's what we can do. I want to take a look at what the traits do and see if they're better than what this guy's got on offer. So, we'll take the, let's say, Indomitable Tomb King, although... we could pop this one as a base as well. Oh, it's +5 melee attack. Unit mass is really nice as well. Now, in the early game, maybe we'll start with the Ancient Strategist. I just want to see this. So, if we take a look at you, we have Tra the Great Father, which is Tomb Garden Chariots, which is obviously what we already have as Settra. You have the Ushabti power-up, the Casket of Souls power-up. So I want to see, does this do anything for the army as well? Damage when attacking. Casualty or punishment, construction cost for buildings, that's not bad. Enemy armor reduction, fire resistance, so it'll be one of these guys that we want for a fire army, that's most definite. What else do we have here? So archers, SF, that makes sense. Speed when in own or allied territory, that's kind of useless. Not great, and no. So I'm thinking then, you can go away now. Wait, do these guys cost money to recruit? Did I just waste money on that? I did not. Okay, so now you go away for now. And next turn, we'll get to this guy instead. Oh, watch him disappear next turn. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe, you know what? Let's get him at the Great Pyramid of Settra then, because I don't want to miss out. Resurgent Memories. I want the speed on the Nehekar Warriors. I think that'll be real nice. And then you can go into Passage to the Soul Realm immediately. You will have to go here to start recruiting Hawk Legion of Settra, though. And potentially... Ooh, we got Skeleton Archer Chariots. Could recruit some of those guys for Settra as well. Although, I guess we could just upgrade these guys to Chariot Archers if we wanted to at tier 3, so fairly quickly. Yeah, there's that. Now, Arcan, just a real quick... Minus 156 to be subjugated, eh? Man, I don't remember. Can we force Confederate Arcan? Let me just see here. So... This is just a straight-up regular Confederation. If he has one settlement left, are we able to Confederate him, I wonder? Or is it only subjugate? Not that it matters over much right now. No, either way, we gotta head towards him and fight him into submission, regardless of how that works. So let's go into whatever stance. Wait. In Two Beneath the Sands, we should be able to reach the settlement either way, I think. Alright, in Two Beneath the Sands for slightly higher healing. Whereas you, Panet, will proceed to the Great Pyramid of Ketep, whatever. Let's see if this guy's got a decent amount of defenses at the Black Tower. We might actually need the second army to reinforce. And, ooh, Pyrrhic Victory. Would you look at that? I guess it's just going to have to be a fight. Let us build the Sepulchre. Actually, does that do much for us? I mean, it'll make us a little bit of cash. It won't increase the public order here. Frankly, I think maybe... Oh, right, next turn we were going to demolish the plazas. Yeah, fine. Build it. Build it for the extra money generation. Frankly, might be tempted to build these shortly as well. Now, can you recruit anything interesting here while you're at it? You can recruit some carrion, but I guess Panet is using the Flock of Jah for now. What did I do again with you? Oh, just generic Locus of Power and Great Magic Bond, though missile resistance might be somewhat useful, at least, to the little birds, so why not? Alright, this one, I think, still worthy of a fight, isn't it? Plus we can see the sort of fiery Flock of Jah in action go. Alright, here we go. Mr. Panet here, gonna get his debut battle outside of, being a reinforcement of Settra's going to rely on that Flock of Jah. Now, the carrion units, they're all pretty darn fragile. The Flock of Jah is a little bit better because of their lower unit count, but still, and generally, you gotta be really careful with these. These guys also do apply maim, which isn't too bad, and they do fire damage, so we could later switch them into a fire army. I'll think about it. Depends on if we want to put some carrion in this army instead and use them with something else. Gotta use them somewhere, after all. Oh, I wonder what Settra's unique ability that he confers to, like, the tech that will confer the ability to the carrion. I wonder what that ability will do for them, and whether it'll make them significantly stronger in the late game. So gotta love those Tomb King pyramids. Looking absolutely fantastic. Anyway, the battle will start as we annoy the enemy mounted yeomen with our skeleton horse archers. Of course, the yeomen are considerably faster, with their living steeds running maybe 20-25 speed faster than the skeletal ones. 75 to 90, but 90 slowed down due to them having gotten a little bit tired. So 75 versus 95, 20 speed faster. They attempt to close the distance while we try to lead them towards the waiting lines of spears and skeleton archers. This is, of course, the enemy's only cavalry unit. And knocking them out will be quite helpful here. There we go. Looks like we've annoyed them sufficiently. I guess they had really no choice. They could have booked it on back to their army, but then we would have just simply ridden behind them, and also Slaneshi giggle, but ridden behind them and pincushioned them with arrows while doing so. Now, however, they are pressed against the line of skeleton spears, which are anti-large, weak though they may be. But frankly, so are the mounted yeomen, and they won't stay in the fight for too long. Away they go, with, of course, a decent amount of them having been felled by the skeleton archers and the cav unit following behind them. I don't think those units are going to be coming back, or if they are, they're not going to achieve much. And the enemies have begun to move forward towards us as well, presumably with their mortar, but the mortar now alone will hopefully be susceptible to one of our fast-moving units. Alright, here comes the rest of the army, the swords, spears, and by the looks of it, a new Altdorf retinue, Free Company militia in the lead. Looks like the enemy didn't want to take the advantage of the vanguard deployment offered by the new Altdorf retinue, but I guess it's not like they were going to be able to do much with it anyway. And here we go, the lines are about to clash. Looks like the Altdorf retinue will run, but the rest of the units will all smash into each other in that sort of classic front line type fashion. Of course, we do outnumber the enemy in this particular situation, which means we have units to spare, and over on the left and right flanks, we will try to get around the enemy and take advantage of it. Our flock of Joff will also move towards the enemy crossbows, of which there are 4. I'm gonna find at least one to drop a few bombs on, do a little bit of damage. The enemy's not blobbed up for us to do a lot with it, but it's alright. We're mostly just trying to get them to stop firing at us. At the very least until either skeleton archers or skeleton horse archers or skeleton spears or something closes the distance. Out here, we have captured one of the enemy units of pikemen and forced them to turn in such a way where 3 units of skeleton archers are able to fire into their backs. Admittedly, these guys didn't have shields, but this is going to make them take even more damage. And not a pleasant place to be. Our unit of Nehekara warriors, moving faster than the regular skeleton warriors, will now close the distance with the unit of crossbows, and that we had already softened up with the flock of Joff. And this frees up the flock to move elsewhere. Oh wow, carrying are pretty big. Or maybe that's, well, actually, Flock of Joff probably considerably bigger. Aw, look at him waddle towards the enemy. So cute. Anyway, looks like the bounce power has shifted to about 70% in our favor. All of the enemy range units, maybe 80%, are now engaged. And it's only a matter of time. With no range support, we can reposition our own range, like so, to fire sort of parallel to the enemy line of deployment. Rather than over the heads of the rest of our units. Admittedly, our skeletons are taking damage. We've nearly reached rank 2 of the Realm of Souls. Will we be able to attain a rank 3 Realm of Souls in this episode, in this debut first episode? Who knows? I'm gonna say not super likely, admittedly. I'd love to see those Ushabti, but hey, there we go. Second level of realm. We've got, I think, 2 skeleton spear units, either severely damaged or destroyed and some melting away. Not, unfortunately, able to fight on par with the enemy's own infantry, because ours are rather weak. And we do need the ability to actually cast spells and such, so I'm just going to have to deal. That's alright though, because in this army they're here just to hold the line while the archers and the flyers and the fast movers, generally speaking, and do the damage. Here the archers will actually hold the swordsmen in place, but it'll allow 3 of the other units of skeleton archers to fire into the backs of these swordsmen now. And actually get them in a little bit of a crossfire as another unit of archers is helping out. And while the skeleton archers won't hold in melee for too long against the basic sort of melee infantry unit, they can hold long enough to allow the other archers to dish out the damage. And there we go, the bounce power shifts to 90, maybe even 95% in our favor. So close to that 3rd level Realm of Souls, but the enemy is running out of the capability to inflict casualties upon us. If we had a big spell, we could just drop a big spell on a bunch of our own units. Kill them off and maybe get those Ushabti up and running. Oh well, not a big deal. If you're wondering why we still have units of swordsmen fighting our archers, it's once again because several of our units of skeleton spears on the front lines broke, or were destroyed, or otherwise had to peel away. And thus these guys were able to break through the line, but that's alright. There just wasn't enough of them to take too much of an advantage, and they're all pretty much done, at least their infantry. The Empire Captain and the Arch-Electors still remain on field, however, but with no army remaining, it looks like they will shatter rather than continue to fight. Funnily enough, oh, come on, how close were we to the Realm of Souls here? 744 out of 750. I just wanted to see those Ushabti cut down, well, one of the enemy heroes. As I was saying, funnily enough, we'd actually have a pretty difficult time dealing with the heroes here. They're heavily armored, at least heavily enough. Exhausted is -22, but anyway. And nothing we have here would have done enough armor-piercing damage for us to have easily been able to kill them. But hey, I've been the victim of the same thing in previous times as well, so yeah. If all of your army is gone, then it does make sense for what remains to shatter. Anyway, this particular Empire Captain looks like he's about to have a very, very not good day. Get pets, little fella. Alright, very nice. A couple of disposable units destroyed, but of no consequence to us. They're just skeleton spears and immediately rebuilt. And we've got ourselves another nice occupied, and therefore a complete settlement. So, out of curiosity, what do the commandments do for us? We can get +6 control, which I guess we'll want to start with. And we got these charnel plazas everywhere. And we do have the construction cost for buildings, so we'll want to switch to Worship of SF first for a turn or two, and then delete all of the charnel plazas at once, and then construct the buildings. I guess we will want to get the Mastaba up and running immediately, or as fast as we can. Wait, does this reduce time, construction time? It does not, so we're good. I do remember that the max populace does, though, by 60%, so especially in the late game, we'll want to uncollect the income in a lot of new locations, but anyway. Archaeological expedition destroyed. Again, how dare they even attempt to occupy the Great Pyramid of Settra. Now, we got one turn, and then we'll have to move Hakor here to recruit some good stuff while we head towards the Black Tower of Archaon with Settra. I was hoping to replace the Nehekar warriors here, but alas, no dice. I wonder if we'll need the Usurian's Legion here. I would have loved to hit these guys at rank 10, but we don't have it yet, so we're just going to have to deal. You can get your last point of Canopic Jar Hoarder, and then actually start getting your lore, maybe. Yes, I know, I've been waiting for a while, and this guy can't cast anything as of yet, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So you have the Greater Magic Locus, which is reserves per second increase. We could pop a Lore of a Death, which will give us, which will give us life leeching, which is also reserves per second, and combine that, but then we'll have effectively no healing whatsoever. We'd probably then want to get a second mage in the army. I mean, obviously we'd have Realm of Souls, but it's really just not enough. Nowhere near it. You're near to rank 3, so we should get to Mortis Road with Settra as well. And we will get there, eventually. But for now, I believe we're good to go to next turn. Oh, I don't like how the public order is dropping here. Well, not much we could do about it. It's only by 1, so it's not a huge deal. Just an annoyance for now. Skip, end turn. Alright, Highborn of Khemri for Hakor, Proclamation of the First Dynasty. The construction cost and campaign movement range will come in handy. An unusual location in Khemri itself, being a elven forts. Diplomatic relations with High Elves, well that's great. I'm not being sarcastic, it's genuinely great. This is a pretty good one to get here. And 4 Lothern Seaguard of Garrison. Quite nice. We gotta find some elves to align with. Well, and by align with, I do mean subjugate. Armor of Fortune. Win with 10 battles with any single hero. Working on it. Alright, you. Proceed to Khemri. And again, starting on a steed, where Settra did not, but anyway. Yes, I'm still salty about that. Hawk Legion of Settra, please. So, is it 4 all the way through the end of the campaign, or do we have some way to get more of these guys, I wonder? Either way, build some skeleton archer chariots until we run out of capacity, please. You, and by you I mean research. What do we have here? Anything Okay, so this will give us charge bonus and speed for infantry. Ooh, with this it'll be a 30% speed increase on that one lord. Huh, I do like that. Fast little skelly boys. Alright, well, this is... oh, yeah. Ossuary, Dirge, Nehekar, Warrior, Skeleton Spears, and Chariots. 4 melee defense, 4 melee attack. That's real solid. Frankly, the armor is pretty decent as well. Yeah. Alright, we'll probably want to go through most of the stuff in this first one, because it's basically buffing up all of our basic units, which go figure. And yes, it's important to get these, but, you know, we'll get them all eventually. Settra. You are immune to attrition via Entomb Beneath the Sands, though I imagine you'd be immune to it via raiding as well. Let's see what we get in terms of raiding here. Ah, Arcana is sitting there. I wonder what the defenses are like. We can't reach the place in one turn, can we? Oh, we can! Go figure. Okay, I did not think that that would be the case. But I guess we attack it. We could wait the turn, but... you know what? I don't want you to get the Screaming Skull Catapult up and running for your defense, so I think we'll just attack you as we are. Which means, okay, not getting any points. I'm almost tempted to waste a point and put it into Nerus. Yeah, just do it. Just so that we can have access to it. And then the Tomb Prince, you can get Indomitable... well, okay, nothing really is super helpful, but I guess we'll have to go through this anyway, and this, so I guess we'll just go through both. Phalanxes it is, though not useful here. Huh, we could force them to attack us, but who knows if they have another army there. Anyway, Settra. You are currently at war with nobody. Well, you're about to be. Declare war. We've come down here for a reason. Alright, close defeat. Oh, he has a Tomb Scorpion. Oh, that's going to be an issue. And he has Hex Wraiths. That's actually going to be a major issue. We have no... well, we're just going to have to try to rely on the Casket of Souls to dish out the damage here. It is what it is. Again, we shouldn't be too concerned about the Tomb Kings. Hopefully the hotfix will come in before long, as they're, generally speaking, going to have a bad time all over the map if their recruitment is indeed borked right now. Though, yeah, I think we'll get a hero up and running very shortly. I wish this took one turn. You're already gating them behind jars, but anyway. And just to send a hero over to Khalida to make sure that she doesn't die, as that would be ideal. I don't know when the hotfix is coming, which is why I decided to just start this campaign anyway. Anyway, let's get this gemstone mine. I mean, we could reduce the construction cost by getting that other thing. Oh, we need the public order right now, don't we? Well, actually, wait. You don't need to be here anymore. You can proceed to Twisted Spire. And I guess it's time to delete these, although you could proceed really far here. But nonetheless, delete. Delete, delete, and switch to construction cost reduction. Make it cheaper. Alright, what about here? We have the port coming up. You're building what you're supposed to be building, or recruiting, whatever. And I guess we'll forego any of these upgrades, at least for now. After Settra's done here, he'll move north. Western Nehekar. Who owns this? Who owns this territory? Leaf Cutters tribe. Oh, more greenskins? Yeah, they're probably going to declare war on us. Yeah, we'll probably have to position this army here, I guess, and leave it here. Maybe we can get you some carrion then. Alright, let's do this. You are going to pop these in. Oh, are the carrion built at the Charnel Plazas? What allows us to recruit these? No, seriously, what allows us to recruit these? Carrion are recruited by the Obelisk. Oh, it's this. Huh, it just doesn't show it at tier 2. Go figure. I assume that... it's kind of weird that it doesn't say unlocks recruitment of carrion on the upper level. But I guess it never does that. Alright, anyway, you will delete these guys. You can keep your archers, at least for now. I'm not so sure about your cab, but you can grab a couple more carrion at least to help against enemy archers. And I think this is not enough melee, so let's do 1 or 2 more spears. These 2 will probably replace with 2 more carrion. I'm almost tempted to delete them right now. Although then it's going to bother me that there's 5 of them here. Alright, fair enough. We'll leave them as they are. The right that we still have is the Sandstorm right, which we can ignore, and then the rest of this we can ignore, which means I guess we fightin'. Settra, go, go, go. Bring me Peter Pan. But anyway, here we go. Ooh, I love the lighting here. This is, well, this is looking like it's going to be a good battle. Anyway, Settra heads directly towards the gate, souls screaming overhead, but it looks like Arcan will hit back, and Settra will take a Spirit Leech as he moves forward. As we learned with the previous battle, it's faster to just battering ram our way through the gate, and by battering ram, of course, I mean our Khemri and War Sphinx. Should we just name it Battering Sphinx as our first one? I don't know. But anyway, we will of course take a few shots at the enemy skeleton archers up above before we get into that good old Tomb King on Tomb King action. And hopefully we can knock out a fair few of them, though I imagine that Arcan has immediate access to the invocation of Nehek and thus can heal at least some of them up. There he is. I wonder how much mana he had. I unfortunately didn't check, but all good. What other abilities does he have immediately? Liber Mortis gives that area physical resistance, massive physical resistance, for how long? 30 seconds is pretty strong, though we do have a similar sort of ability now as we have the Neru's Incantation of Protection, so 40% physical resistance to 1, or, okay, I didn't mean to go here, but added effect area as well. Oh. Alrighty, well, had to look at something while we batter down that gate, and it's got 7,000 HP remaining. Also, I assumed that maybe Arcan's faction was one of the Broken Tomb Kings one, but I do realize that he has clearly recruited, as he had like 11 units in his army, and, I don't know, we had like 5 or 6 units in our starting army, so he clearly has got some. And again, in my low-cure campaign, the Tomb Kings, wherever they are on the map, seem to be the most powerful factions. They're doing really, really well, so broken or not, I think either way is going to be fine. If they do well, great. If they do poorly, great as well. It just means better enemies for us. We're playing the Tomb Kings, we don't really care how the AI handles other Tomb Kings. After all, and hopefully within an episode or two, the hotfix will come down from the devs. Assuming it affects the stuff in the Old World campaign in the first place. Anyway, here we go. We've broken through the gate, and the Necro Serpents watch over Settra and his ilk as they start cutting down Crypt Ghouls and Skeleton Warriors who foolishly choose to serve Arcan alike. We are also, we may be surprised to see this, but going to immediately send in a pile of chariots. Now, the goal here is not, in fact, to get them so much through the gate and into the settlement to trundle around there. And I did think about doing that by breaking through this gate by sending one archer unit here, but it looks like the enemy was wise to that and kept a bunch of units here, so, oh well, ooh. Valley of Kings looking pretty great, a little mini Valley of Kings. You gotta admit, the game is absolutely beautiful, but anyway, I digress. What was I saying? Oh, right, you may be surprised as to the fact that I'm sending the chariots in here. They can't make or take advantage of the fact that they have mobility. What they are doing here, however, is they're standing in the midst of all of our units, and the value of this is their mass. It means that any kind of AoE attack, any kind of charge from the enemy is going to be significantly less impactful, as they will not simply be able to bowl over tons and tons of units. Of course, our chariots can also use their HP to help absorb some of their HP while we dish out damage. Anyway, we look like we have broken through the enemy that were protecting the gate, and it looks like our Tomb Prince has engaged with Arcan the Black here. I'm knocking him down, and I see that Arcan, at least, is on foot. He doesn't have his chariot either. Well, that's going to be a problem for him, as he's certainly not escaping Settra or his army. I guess the other value of the chariots is we can sort of trap infantry units like this, again, using their mass. I believe Arcan is wise to it and has called his sort of personal bodyguard of Hex Wraiths to help him out, as well as some bats to tie us up. Going to be an issue bringing down the Hex Wraiths, especially as we have closed the distance with enough units, and that we cannot simply drop too many shots from our soul casket, or caskets of souls, upon the enemy below, as it would probably obliterate a ton of our own units in the process. But what can you do? Just going to have to cut the enemy down the old-fashioned way, and besides, the combination of chariots and other units are distracting the enemy and allowing everybody to focus Arcan down. I'd allow Settra to duel him one-on-one, because it's kind of personal, but in this particular situation, we really need him gone, as he'll just keep casting Invocation of Nehek and healing what units he can. Really can't allow him to stay on field. Besides, Settra's taken some damage, though admittedly a decent bit of that was from miscasting, from basically constantly casting, which he has been doing. We have also gotten a bit of range support going with the skeleton horse archers firing over the walls. Their range is kind of lackluster at only 140, which is really low, but it's enough for our particular purposes in this particular situation. Arcan down to 10% of his HP, still surrounded and little he can do about it. And his hex rates are down to about half HP as well. Looking pretty good. Alright, and will Settra be delivering the final blow? No, actually, maybe not. Looks like Arcan does get one cast off and still at 20% of his HP, though I imagine that breath from the Sphinx ain't gonna help him too much. Settra will move away specifically to cast the Wrath of Tra, as that is an AoE type damage. Well, that was Prince Barek. Where are you? Settra, if I can just select you, man, please. Please, why are you doing this to me, man? Wrath of Tra, magical fire damage. So enemies have weakness to fire. Skeletons do, that is. And hey, there we go. Arcan goes down. By the looks of it, either to the Sphinx or some random tomb guard, but anyway. And the Wrath of Tra really helped us out in terms of clearing out those hex rates. Otherwise, the bounce power is at about still only 60% in our favor, while Arcan may be gone, probably for good, as I doubt we'll see him again this campaign. The Tomb Prince remains, as does the Tomb Scorpion. Tomb Scorpions are fantastic units. I think probably for their tier and stuff, they're arguably a better unit than the Khemri and War Sphinx, because they're much easier to get, and they're really quite annoying and difficult to trap with that burrow ability that they have. Though, with the advent of these chariots, and maybe we can keep it locked in place a little bit better. Admittedly, and most likely at the loss of a fair few of these chariots, as the Tomb King construct pinches them apart. I was gonna say Tomb King Dreadnought, which is effectively what it is, but anyway. Hope you're having fun in there, little fella. Alright, how are we doing in terms of HP on this thing? 50%. Alright, it is taking a while as they exchange blows. Let's leave them to it. Here the enemy Tomb Prince is surrounded and nearly 50% of his HP, which will mean he will activate the Curse of Joff and force everybody around us here to go into Rampage. A lot of our chariots are severely damaged now, having dropped down to about 20% of their HP. Admittedly, pretty much every single unit here is expendable. On the other hand, though, we will want to keep a bunch of high sort of veterancy chariots around, so them melting away wouldn't be such a great thing for us either. Especially later, once we've got like rank 9 units, maybe they will become less expendable as we go. Anyway, the Tomb Scorpion is in very low HP now. Granted, so are our own elites, but that's alright. We're in Rampage, but it hardly matters as they're engaged with the unit that they were supposed to be engaged with. There we go. Scorpion goes down. We do still have that Tomb Prince to take care of. But with his Curse of Joff spent, we will no longer be unable to focus him down. We're going to counter the damage that we're taking a little bit with that Narrow's Incantation of Protection, and of course pop that Restless Dead to heal a little bit. We will need more casters to heal up, but yeah, maybe a few more Lich Priests will be just the ticket. See how that does. And with the fragile chariots, it might also be a good idea to have multiple sources of healing. But anyway, the Khemri and War Sphinx taking a little bit of damage from enemy missile fire. Admittedly, rather weak in terms of missile resistance. I always end up comparing these guys to giants in SFO, or every large unit to giants in SFO. And ooh, I digress. The Tomb Prince gets brought down by the explosion of Tra's Wrath. That was pretty fantastic. I was not expecting doing that. Obviously, it's an AoE ability, so I wouldn't expect it to kill off a hero, but it looked like the hero had just barely any HP remaining. Anyway, yeah, Giants have 50% missile resistance and are really hard to pincushion in SFO, but lots of other units maybe not as hard. Hopefully we can get some upgrades for the Sphinxes in terms of their missile resistance, as I do want a couple in Settra's army. Speaking of Settra, he's towering over those pathetic crypt ghouls and laying into them with his halberd there, until the last of them have returned to... Well, they're not undead, so they haven't really returned to the grave, but yeah, have died. There we go, good enough. Alrighty. And now we just got a little bit of skeleton on skeleton action. Our Nehekara warrior is going to face off against a unit of skeleton spears, which frankly should have probably tried to help the breach. Our damaged Khemri and War Sphinx, as well as one of our units of chariots, the one I believe that is the least hurt, with 50% of its HP, have moved towards an enemy unit of archers. We gotta make sure that these guys don't do anything. Protecting the War Sphinx, we're going to send the chariots through the enemy units of Nehekara warriors here, as the skeletons are super easy to bowl down in droves with the chariots. And chariots are a pretty big source of our early game strength after all. The last of the skeleton warriors fighting, though not for much longer, especially that headless one that dropped. And it looks like the enemy army is beginning to melt away. The bounce power has shifted to about 90% in our favor, and Arkan's defense of his capital, by the looks of it, is a failure. 3 units remain. Actually, I think there's a 4th somewhere around here. There we go. I don't know where you guys were. Probably protecting one of the gates, but that probably didn't work out too well for you. Frankly, chariots in SFO especially would probably take far, far too long to actually break through the gate. Actually, I wonder how well Settra will do at breaking through gates once he's on the Chariot of the Gods. And I'm really hoping that we can either find or steal a Banner of Swiftness. For Settra, I'll be really disappointed if we can't. Tomb Kings can find items, right? It's not only the mortuary color. We gotta double check. It's been a while. No, they can definitely find items, yeah. Alright, especially since we have one of the books that increases the item rarity found in battle. We literally have one that said that, so yes, we can find items. I'm just stupid. But you already knew that. Anyway, the skeleton archers are pretty much done. Bounce power just a tiny, tiny sliver as these guys get their last shots off and melt away as they do. But hey, one last screw you, one last arrow loosed into your enemy. You gotta appreciate that. Credit where it's due. And one last little charge from their Khopesh sidearms, with their Khopesh sidearms as well. There we go. The last of the enemy units melt away, but so does one of our chariots. Admittedly, this one was already basically dead for quite a while. I don't know how many units the chariots need to survive. With 1, they definitely die. I do wonder if they survive with 2 or with 3. It also does depend on whether you win or lose a battle, unless I'm mistaken, but all that aside, the last unit on the field is a unit of skeleton warriors who stands no chance. Rarely seen in melee, however, the units of skeleton horse archers are sent into the melee because they're one of the few units that has a decent amount of HP still remaining, whereas all of the others are pretty much nearly destroyed. And we were just able to get to the first level of the Realm of Souls, but yeah, that's unsurprising. We have mostly chariots and horses in this army, and not a lot of units that will actually be destroyed. Really gotta get some of those Tomb Guard in there, but we'll discuss this in a sec. Let's see how we did. Heroic victory, perhaps, but most definitely worth it, and most definitely a nice, fun fight. Alright, there we go, no problem at all. Unfortunately, had to sacrifice one of our chariots, but in the way that we took the settlement, we had to use their mass, and ooh, rank 10, very nice. We had to use their mass in order to, well, provide additional mass in the line of infantry so that things like the Scorpion and the Hex Wraiths couldn't essentially just charge right through. Otherwise, As I've already mentioned, it's a little bit unfortunate that Arcan is broken, but I don't think he would have presented us any problem, or the Tomb Kings in general, when played by the AI. I don't think they would have presented us any problem anyway, and Arcan's the only one that we'd be really concerned about. If all the others fall to other factions, that's probably good for us and for getting a nice campaign up and running, because it'll mean more and more powerful enemies, and that other Tomb King factions wouldn't be getting in the way, and instead of confederating giant empires, we'll have to fend for ourselves more, which, again, feels appropriate. Arcan we would have just overrun, because let's face it, the AI is bad with Tomb Kings in the early game, and also late game, but especially early game. Anyway, lots and lots of damage on our Khemri and War Sphinx, 32,000 damage, and the Casket of Souls matching it there, 20,000 on Settra. He been doing good work with that explosion ability that he has, 11k for the Khepra Guard, and 17k for the Tomb Guard. Why did these guys get more damage than the Twin Blade Khepra Guard? Because we kept using the Joff's incantation of cursed blades on them in order to allow them to dish out additional damage via bleed, whereas the Khepra Guard has the discouraged ability on them, meaning we don't want to waste their contact effect. May as well put it on the Tomb Guard. Makes sense to me. Anyway, Pyrrhic Victory and a free little Occupy settlement. Cultist of Assyrian corruption reduction. Yeah, we're gonna need that here. 300? Oh, decent money collection, but anyway. We'll immediately upgrade you. We're not going to collect income right away. We'll delete the open graves. We'll need to decorruptify the place. Corruption will not increase. Right now it's at 0. Settra, you're not able to immediately switch to Great Dynasty stance, are you? Unfortunately not. Huh. I wonder if that makes you immune to attrition or not. I also wonder whether these guys have other armies around. And, oh right, we need that iron anyway, so that's good. Anyway, Arcan, the Blackened, gives us relationship with other Tomb Kings, and weapon strength when fighting vampire counts, which will be of use against one more faction. I think there's another vampire counts faction up here somewhere. City of Dust, there it is. But otherwise not the biggest of concerns, let's say, at least not right now. Anyway, Settra, oh, you lied, game. He was so close. 3969. Nice, but the game lied and he didn't quite reach rank 10, but will very soon. Ooh, Unyielding Will, melee defense and attack +8 everybody around him, and that's nice. Yeah, we're about to get major upgrades for Tomb Guards and Chariots in his army, which is just lovely. Gonna take a bit to transfer these guys here as well. Huh, do we want to put the Assyrians Legion, or the Legion of... wait, King Nekesh's Scorpion Legion? You're kind of using a lot of spears right now, so maybe we'll pop them into your army instead. And Settra, you can recruit something. You lost one chariot, unfortunately. Not that that's a big deal, mind you. Frankly, we need a lot more actual infantry in his army, because the big problem right now is that very few models die, and then it's almost impossible to activate the Realm of Souls and thus, you know, heal up units. Anyway, let's get a Nehekara warrior to replace the one that was lost earlier. Alright. Mortuary Cult. We need 10k to get an additional army capacity, but we can sort of afford it. I'm just going to be a little bit of a difficult time getting that 10k. Rakhav Dynasty wants to non-aggress with us. They're probably going to die to these vamps, but I just plain don't care. And, I mean, if they do die... I always cancel our agreements with them later. How much money will they give us for this? 495? How much trade would we be able to do with them? 103 per turn? Yeah, maybe we'll do that. And and then later on, if we need to cancel our agreements and kill them, that's just fine. In the early game, it's going to be a while before we go over there, right? On the other hand, it takes 10 turns before we... Yeah, you know what, never mind. I don't like it. I don't like it, I lied. Let's double check if there's any buildings to be constructed, but I don't believe that there are. We gotta get Khemri up to tier 4 soon, and ooh, yes, excited about that grave port. But otherwise, let's end the turn. Hopefully Settra will just level up off of passive XP gain over the 15 missile resistance or HP. 440 HP, that's pretty good. Let's do that. Alright, now we can end the turn. Man, you know, just as I was ending the turn, I realized that the unit wouldn't be constructed because we had deleted the building here, but it's all good. You're gonna need to start with public order and corruption reduction, so that's an obelisk, and Settra, you're immediately able to move to monoliths of Great Plains, which is great. Research 8 technology is gonna take a while, but the Talisman of Preservation and Helm of Discord will surely be of great use to us. The rest of this, I guess we can ignore and just keep moving with Settra, who did not level up to 2. You gotta be kidding me. Now he is 14 XP short. Okay, game. Fine. wait, Settra, stop, 1 second. If we pop you into this stance, I wanted to decorruptify, or at least help decorruptify the place, but oh well, what can you do? This we will auto-resolve for obvious reasons. Oh, a bit of damage to us, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Well, too late. How much are you healing here? Not enough, but at least we level up to 10, so Unyielding Will will power up the units around you. Petra the Great Father, immediate melee defense for chariots and stuff. Oh, we only need 2 points in order to unlock a Immortal King of Nehekara. Oh, he gets Air Command Dominance on him. Meaning we can get the other air command on one of the princes. Alright, fair enough. Perfect Vigor when mounted on the Chariots of the Gods. Fine, but eventually useless. Physical resistance for the entire army is nice, though. What do we have here? Vanguard deployment for chariots. We have limited points to spend, so what do we want to get right now? I'm going to say just continue powering up the chariots. So let's go Restless Minions to start the day. Immortal King of Nehekara, and then Petra the Great Father, like so. Which is an immediate, and hey, free armor of fortune, Settra, you got an armor, isn't that lovely? What does this do? Corruption reduction on Prince, yeah, okay, yeah, we already have that here, that's lovely. Alright, now, our chariots are looking a lot stronger, 43, 41, obviously they will get, or should get, eventually even stronger than that, but for now, we're just going to have to live with it. We picked up another one of these. Alright, we'll upgrade the Mastaba here, I guess. And this time I'm not going to delete you, I'm just going to build an Nehekara warrior and then delete you after. Though admittedly we could just go for a skeleton warrior and upgrade them to Nehekara warrior, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And at level 2, mind you. But nah, not a big deal. Yeah, you're holding the other one. Now you, okay wait, you are going to need to recruit that, ooh, we got 3 Tomb Bark capacities immediately. Oh, isn't that beautiful? I was waiting for these. The last time I played Kotep, and he was fairly distant from any ports. Oh, right, this isn't Immortal Empires, but in his start location, it's very difficult to get to ports. Anyway, I'm sure Settra will want at least a couple of Tomb Barks, so let's get to recruiting these. And then you can get some more chariots up and running. Wait, Settra needs... just get all of them up and running, and then we'll pop them into wherever we need them. All the chariots in the world. Alright, there we go. Building. Anything critical? Pyramid of Settra. We could do the growth, I guess. So let's go Mortuary House. We'll go for capacities after. Let's start with the cheap and effective Mortuary Houses and Obelisks in Necropolis of Khemri. Most of these will be deleted eventually, but for now I think we're okay. We might as well also make use of the worship of... Fuck the... don't demonetize me, YouTube. The construction reduction, which will help out here nicely. Actually, what are we... Oh, right, we can't yet. But we will, eventually. And actually in 9 turns we'll be able to upgrade the place regardless of the presence of an army. Though frankly, we could temporarily send this one out there just to knock these guys out. We can declare war on them in 2 turns after all, and I'm sure that they won't have enough of an army to deal with whatever we end up building here. Oh, you can also have Assyrian's Legion. Do we need to pay money to unlock them, just out of curiosity? We do. Not much, though. Do it. They can... Oh, huh. I like all these... whatever these are called. This is like a dry seabed, right? Yeah, you can have the Lucerian's Legion join the Hawk Legion of Settra because they're all Nehekara warriors and should be buffed by the same lord. And let's see. Okay, so these guys are at 45 speed, with this guy currently giving them 20%. Just out of curiosity. And Fading Memory will give them an additional 10% speed. Then that upgrade we saw in the text will give another 10% speed. Yes, speed stacking. It's working for me already. Alrighty, and... Oh, we'll want to get to Tomb Guard. I just realized that that's probably more important than the other chariots here. Like so. And the rest of that is looking good, I think. And we'll probably want more Tomb Guard once we get more capacities, and Settra will be getting those for us. Anyway, you Tomb Prince. Huh, do we want to maybe go through Tough as Nails ASAP? It does buff the lore. Wait, no it doesn't. Well, experience gain. Sort of. We should probably grow towards Air Command Persevere then. Let us move through. All of these are useless, but we gotta get to Air Command. I guess the anti-ambush thing. We're probably rarely, if ever, going to be under siege. Anti-ambush it is. Alright, looks good to me. There's no new lords, there's no heroes, at least not yet, but it's alright, go. Hello, what do we have here? A Tomb Prince, Necrotect, and Lich Priest, obviously Necrotect, enter your throne room and offer themselves in your service. We'll go for the Necrotect. Admittedly, I feel like the Lich Priest one might be the actual better pick, just by virtue of the fact that we need them for Tech Thieves as well as casters, but I want a Necrotect right now, so let's go Necrotect.
A king must have his crown, my lord. Yours was a repository of such power, and a true reflection of your achievements in life and beyond. Perhaps it is time to don it once more.
Yeah, as if Settra would ever take off his crown. Anyway, crown also gives charge bonus and base weapon and armor-piercing weapon damage increase in an aura around him. Settra's pretty aura'd up, which is nice. A 20% ward save. That's interesting. Good, because this prevents us from getting a healing item, so we will definitely need a mage in his army that provides the healing potion ability. Go figure. Alright, well. Oh, and the crown is right there. Now you, what do you have? Intelligent. Income from post-battle loot, missile block chance. I was hoping for something that would give us, Genius Architect's pretty good. Ooh, Recovery is pretty good as well. But we'll make use of you for now. Wait, the capacity is +1, actually, so if we delete you, we could just replace you with another guy, like the, doubling restore thing. And considering you're going to be there mostly to heal the constructs, that's probably the way to go. So that increased our capacity. Yes, we're at 1 out of 1, meaning if we delete Itobomb, disband. Please tell me I'm not wrong about this. Yes, okay. Then we go right here. And we immediately pop in a Necrotect, a Genius Necrotect, I should say, with that lovely doubling up on Restore. Alright. We are, after all, going to have a couple of Khemri and War Sphinx in Settra's army. Now, speaking of Settra and his army, if you go into this stance, you're immune to attrition. Oh, you're not suffering attrition here anyway. Huh? Are you immune to Vampiric Corruption attrition? Interesting. Okay, well, either way, anti-corruption like so. I'd love to heal more, but it, in theory, shouldn't matter. These guys are not going to be able to rebuild an army in time to face off against us, so it hardly matters. I think we will want to end one... Wait. You know, how much territory do these guys hold? The Leaf Cutters tribe? Yeah, here's the thing. We're going to need to fight them most likely with you. As Settra will probably proceed back around this way, there's a lot of stuff to do. We gotta face off against the undead up here. We gotta face off against the Nurglites all over around here before they take too much territory. And of course we gotta fight Manfred and all that, though before fighting Manfred I guess it was the right decision to acquire the anti-vampire trait. Who are you fighting? Dune Kingdoms and Sutek Dynasty. I don't know who those guys are, but they're probably around you. Yeah, alright, fine. I guess we'll use this army to sort of defend this location. We could also raid the Greenskins while you're at it. Do we want to pop in any other units in here? I guess we could just globally recruit anything that's missing here, couldn't we? Isn't anything we want? Because I feel like we should probably pop in a few chariots, at least a couple, just to help out and rush enemy range units. Seems like the thing to do. Oh, I also noticed you have your Canopic Jar Hoarder, so you can pick your Magecraft now. Anyway, you are out of here, right? Although you are providing public order bonuses. Actually, speaking of, let's build up this place. Grow it as fast as we can, and then delete these buildings afterwards. But for now, while we're in worship, we should make use of it. And the next turn we'll be able to upgrade you to tier 3, or actually maybe you to tier 3, so we can build another obelisk and get you up and running at your max. The rest of this here is fine. And maybe we should also start saving up the 10,000 gold necessary for another army. Anyway, you are going to go here. Do you reduce any construction costs out of curiosity? By 2%. Probably not enough for us to care about. Go into Great Dynasty stance to reduce the corruption. There we go, minus 14. Pretty solid. I want to end the turn. I just want to, I mean, yes, we're way past overtime, etc., etc., but we need to wipe these guys out for good, so we'll end the episode after that. Oh, huh, would you look at that? This guy recruited just fine, so I guess Arcan wasn't in fact broken after all. He just, I guess he lost some units fighting whatever it was he had in his starting province. I guess it was only turn 9 or something when we attacked him, so we booked it on down here pretty darn quick. Essentially made a beeline to wipe Arcan out for good, which you gotta admit seems like the right move. Anyway, let's make sure that we do in fact wipe him out for good by going to Pit of Kemsenef. Do we need to actually fight this? Post-victory, and one of our chariots will die. One last fight for Arcan to round out the episode. Ooh, can we get the Necrotect in here? Looks like just barely, so let's... I guess I'm gonna lose some of your XP, ain't ya? But I'm disinclined to lose the Skeleton Archers, because, I don't know. These guys aren't staying in this army, and the Skellies are... And the Skelly Archers are gonna pop into Wakaf's army as soon as we awaken him, so yeah, you pop on in. Increase mobility and heal up that Necrotect, which will be a worthy reason to fight the fight as well. Also need to get Settra Mage ASAP. Right unlocked. Great Incantation Uptra. Oh, that's another reason to get one of these. Unique Necrotect hero capable of colonizing ruins at level 3. Now, that means we can raise a place and colonize it at 3. I think we'll... Black Pyramid is a decent option for this, actually. Immediately be able to access the Vault of Nagash, or at least start building the Vault of Nagash. It's going to take a while, but it's got some solid buffs on it. The other option would be to go to a place like where the Pyramid of Alcatazar is located and then build that thing there. But I digress. Let's not make the episode any longer than it's already been. One last fight against the followers of Nagash.
Settra dominates all!
Oh, an actual night battle, but it looks like it's not going to be a dark night battle, so I think we're good in terms of seeing all the glorious action. Anyway, here we go. Funnily enough, probably could have done this particular smaller battle as a non-cinematic, but I mean, it is the last battle belonging to the followers of Nagash, so we may as well give them a proper send-off. Besides, it might be a bit of a while between now and when we fight the next set of Tomb Kings as an enemy. Granted, there are a few around us, but how long they survive remains to be seen. Anyway, we are going to start the day off with our skeleton horse archers taking the place of the skeleton chariots that we will eventually have, annoying the piles of enemy skeleton horses to make sure that they're knocked out. Settra will move through the line of enemies as he's done in many a battle previously, sending the chaff flying as he closes the distance with the enemy Tomb King and Tomb Prince alike, and begins their duel. He is up to 87 melee attack, pretty solid, and he's gonna get stronger and stronger. I don't remember, he has the Crown of Nehekara and I assume his weapon, so no Sword of Cain, eh? Although I don't think the likelihood of a Sword of Cain actually being taken and drawn in Old World is particularly high, because it is located near Lorelorn, and I think it's rare that an Elven faction actually takes it, mostly because Lorelorn, obviously being a Wood Elf faction, is isolationist and doesn't do too much. Anyway, bounce power is at about 70-80%, 75%, there we go. That's the one. In our favor, the enemy range units have all collapsed, and of course the enemy horsemen have been obliterated by ours. Now just a matter of time as our Kepra Guard cut down the Nehekara warriors and what remains of the enemy army. Settra is still trying to go after the enemy Tomb King, who is being punted around by one of the chariots. Gonna have to get back out of there while Settra activates a incantation of cursed blades on one of our Nehekar warriors to make sure that they cut down the enemy a little bit faster with that lovely bleed application. And of course, now that our skeleton horse archers are no longer having to deal with the enemy skeleton horse archer, or skeleton whatevers, skeleton horsemen? Yeah, I think the enemies weren't archers, but they're all dead now, so it doesn't matter. They're all just pincushioning the enemy by shooting them in the back, and of course our chariots can charge them in the back as much as the horses shoot them. Or the archers on top of the horse, you know what I mean. Anyway, the enemy Tomb Prince down to 40% HP, the enemy Tomb King nearly defeated by Settra in sort of nearly personal combat. Seems to be too afraid to actually face Settra directly in a one-on-one, because, well, even from the start he came in with his Tomb Prince. Slaneshi giggle. But anyway, the battle is very nearly ours. I do believe the enemy army is melting away, and only a few seconds remain. Curse of Joff will activate, reducing our melee attack significantly and forcing us all into rampage while we wait out the clock. But it won't do too much. And Settra, what are you doing, man? Why are you just sitting there? Just watching this guy get mobbed by chaff? Is this just adding insult to injury, perhaps? And there we go, the final blow. Watch him nearly die by 1,000 cuts only to deliver a lazy blow with the halberd. I suppose perhaps this rebellious Tomb King should not have been supporting our cannon, thus perhaps he didn't warrant a proper send-off. Anyway, the battle is done. Only one unit of skeleton spears remains, and it is melting rather quickly. And I do realize that, unfortunately, I was hoping that because of this battle actually being fought rather than auto-resolved, we would be able to use the restore off of the Necrotech, but they don't start with the restore, they get it at level 2, I guess, as soon as they level up one time. So, no dice on healing the poor little War Sphinx, but oh well, the next battle we'll be able to. Depending on how soon we actually find one. Anyway, there we go with that. The last of the enemies melt away, and the battle is ours, and the faction is destroyed. They actually got to summon their Ushabti, but only at the very end of the battle, and they had achieved absolutely nothing whatsoever. Alright, there we go. No problem whatsoever. A mere 65 losses, despite the fact that we weren't able to activate the Realm of Souls once, not a single time, because, again, we didn't suffer any losses. But with that, Prince Nebethar unlocks his chariot, and should thus be unlocking his additional chariot buffing traits. Pretty strong, +15/+15 on him, and may as well get that ceremonial bandages. You're gonna need it if you're on a chariot. Although I think we'll have another Tomb Prince in this army to lead the infantry. For example, infantryman would work. We already have Loyal Guardian from this guy, right? Well, he gives Devastating Flanker for chariot units. Wait, what does Loyal Guardian do? Wait, this guy doesn't... Okay, just a triple check. Charioteer. Devastating Flanker for chariot units. Not including Settra, but I imagine he has Devastating Flanker. I would certainly hope so. Meaning we could go for the Loyal Guardian to make Settra immune to flanking. Do we care about that? I don't know. Maybe. When unmounted, this isn't probably going to be too much of a big difference anyway. So it's really something to consider, and we could get these guys right now, because we can pop in Founder of Khemri and get a Tomb Prince. I suppose if we want to swap one out, we can always get a different one. Flanking immune. I'll think about it. Though, with that, well, we'll think about it, I think, next time, as the followers of Nagash have been destroyed, and with that, I'm happy to end this episode here. The corruption will be gone in short order. Next time, we advance northward with Settra. This army will take hold of the cracked lands and defend against probably the onslaught of orcs and raid them, probably, while Settra moves on up here, probably through his quest battle as well, and takes on some other Tomb Kings, lizards, vampires, empires and whatever we run into as we expand the empire. Plus, we'll try to take that time to advance and get some fancy new units. Hawk Legion of Settra, the Tombbarks, and maybe some constructs as well, since we are able to move on towards them. Anyway, a lovely debut. Stay tuned. I love that frickin' the fight with those pump wagons. Stay tuned for more Settra. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.